Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for TWiT specials is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. This is TWiT Live Special number 248 for Monday, June 8th, 2015, WWDC 2015. This TWiT Live Special is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for the right payments API, check out the Braintree V.0 SDK. With one simple integration, your customers get every way to pay. To learn more and to try out the sandbox, go to braintreepayments.com/twit. Well, good morning, everybody. Leo Laporte from the TWiT Brickhouse Studios. Mr. Mike Elgan is here.
Yes, I'm here, and I'm also not muted.
You're here now.
Yeah.
You.
I was actually stepping on my mute button for some reason. I was.
Really?
Yeah, it was me. That wasn't Jason. That was me.
Hey, that's Georgia Dow. She's joining us from Montreal. Good to have you, Georgia.
Nice to be here.
And from Boston, Massachusetts, Andy Ihnatko.
Hello all.
Welcome. We are watching now live video coming from Moscone West as we get ready to commence Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference for 2015. And I understand Pharrell is in the front row there. He was one of the people to receive a gold Apple Watch.
Yes,
before,
very
release.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also expecting to see women.
Yes, there are rumors that women will actually appear on stage, and not just supermodels.
Tim Cook was at an event yesterday for young people, I guess high school and college kids, an app developers program for young people. And
scholarship winners to the WWDC.
Yeah, they won scholarships to go to the event. And he showed up as kind of a surprise visitor. And Christina Warren from iMore, very smart. Not
Nashville?
iMore, she's from Nashville, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She's from
Very
Nashville.
smart, and she jumped him,
Yep.
pinned him down and interviewed him.
Yes.
Asked him why were there so few women on stage at their last events, and he said, "Watch,
Yeah.
there'll be more this time."
Don't worry, y'all. We're gonna get this right, he said. And he also took the blame. He said that people like us in technology are to blame for the problem. It's not society's problem, it's our problem, and promised to do more about it. Especially to inspire girls to get into technology at an early age, which I think is a great goal. We'll see if they can deliver on it.
Georgia, he sounded like he hit all the right notes.
You hit all the right notes, and if there's women on the stage, I have brought, let's see, sparklers, I have bubbles.
Party time.
I have a sparkler. I might burn down the house. And yes, I will be very excited to see women on the stage because it does make a huge difference. Like what we see is that's what we think that we can be. And unless we actually see someone that is similar to us, then we think that it does cut our choices. So it would be great.
Apple's only female presence on stage last event, the watch event, was Christy Brinkley, supermodel.
Turlington.
I'm sorry, Christy Turlington. Supermodel.
Yes.
Yeah.
They all look
Also,
Yeah.
above and beyond that, the last 2 or 3 major keynotes from Microsoft, Google, and gosh, even when I went to from ASUS, had a lot of like female executives. So it was representing. It will raise extremely high eyebrows if Apple remains clueless about giving that sort of presence to the keynote stage.
And it'll be a little difficult for them as well because, of course, Google has a lot of very high-level women executives, and Apple doesn't.
Apple has Angela Ahrendts.
Angela Ahrendts, yes, but I mean, and she's the retail chief, and she's, of course, the highest-paid woman, I think, in the U.S., or the second highest-paid. Certainly is paid vastly more than Tim Cook himself. But she's a rarity. If you look at their executive page, it's mostly a bunch of dudes, and so we'll see what they do to get those promised women on stage.
Yeah, I'm looking right now at the executive profiles. Angela Ahrendts is second, but there are 2 women. The Vice President for Environmental Initiatives, Lisa Jackson, and Vice President for HR, Denise Young-Smith.
They're not going to bring the HR person out on stage.
No. So this could be a challenge. Google had the head of Google's Advanced Technology Group was a woman, and she was very prominent at Google I/O.
Yes, Regina.
A couple of weeks ago.
Dugan.
But Tim said the right thing, which was, I think, not only, as you point out, Georgia, that you have to have role models up front because that tells young girls what they can be. But he also said it's good for us. It's good for all of us to have diversity.
Yeah.
That's what we want. That's where we want to work that way, and it'll make Apple a better company to have that kind of diversity. And by the way, not just men and women, but people of color and broad international representation, all of which Google does very well, I think.
Well, they're
although
trying
not in the
really
numbers,
hard.
if you look at the raw numbers.
Yeah, they boosted their women in technology jobs from 17% to 18% year over year. They just announced that. Google did.
1%.
1%, which is a lot of effort, resulted in 1%. But again, they are, first of all, competing with lots of companies for a tiny pool of women who are available, and it is a larger societal and cultural problem. I'd like to see Hollywood answer for some of this as well, not just the people who are trying to hire people, but it's the TV shows and the movies that are constantly telling girls that tech is for boys that I think is the biggest problem.
Andy, what do we expect today at WWDC?
Obviously, Apple Music is probably going to be the thing that everyone's anticipating the most. On my wish list, if there's in developers, I think developers are mostly thinking about, well, you've given us the ability to make sort of lame Apple Watch apps. Tied into our iPhone apps. What's WatchKit going to be when we actually get access to the actual hardware? And then, as always, iOS 9, the next version of macOS. Nobody's expecting titanic overhauls of either one of those things. But I think the biggest news is going to come out not necessarily from the keynote session, but from the developer sessions that come over the course of the week when we find out what kind of technologies and what kind of APIs is Apple emphasizing and what are they rolling out. If they start to really hammer in the ability to hammer home the idea of make sure that you're not targeting your apps towards any specific size screen, or it could be an indication that later on we are finally going to see the ability to tile apps on iOS, on larger iPhones, and on iPads. There's also been a couple of interesting rumors about Apple coming out with something not quite like Google Now, but something that is a little bit more of a proactive assistant than what we're getting through Siri right now. But mostly, as far as I'm concerned, this is the last chance they have to lay down some more cards for Apple Watch. In terms of things that I'm really keen to check out. The music stuff, that's interesting, but I'm really wondering what they could possibly add to Spotify or Google Play Music or any other subscription service that's out there right now, apart from this is the Apple brand and we're putting it on every single phone.
I also think we're going to see in iOS 9 some new pretty powerful security features, which will be welcome, of course. They're supposed to be rolling the Apple Watch typeface called San Francisco into iOS 9, which changed the appearance of just about everything. And I also think that there's going to be, rumors indicate that there are going to be some significant improvements to maps, which are sorely needed, of course. They're going to have mass transit directions, if the rumors are correct, and a project codenamed Garter, which is kind of like a street view for businesses. So it looks like Apple may have a Street View-like feature, again, just for businesses. And Andy mentioned the sort of tiled apps or split-screen apps. There's also rumors that there will be a multi-person login for iPads, which will probably be welcome in technology. One of the biggest questions I have going into this is that we've heard good reports, solid rumors that Apple will not be rolling out the expected update to Apple TV, and that Apple will not be rolling out the expected live streaming TV service. But they probably want to talk about a rumored app called Home and the Apple TV as a hub. So we don't know. I don't know if they're going to talk about that.
9 to 5, or was it Apple Insider said that the current Apple TV will be able to be the hub as well. So
yes,
it's possible that they could push out that update. Why don't we bring the audio up, because I believe the traditional Uptown Funk is being played, stadium tune for 2015. Usually when you play that, that's the last song before you bring on the executives. Georgia, what do you expect?
Well, I'm really hoping that they're going to help out Siri and make it more of an assistant. They bought out Q in 2013, and yet Siri's still every lackluster, so I'm really hoping that we're going to make Siri become a type of assistant that will actually help me through the day and get better voice recognition. And then the second thing for me would be Maps. I have a huge amount of expectational debt after I lost Google Maps as being native on my iPhone, and to have my, to not be able to trust where you're going. For me, it's not even dealing with transit because I usually have my car, but to be able to really have a reliable mapping system, I think is exceptionally necessary for Apple right now. I think that they're falling behind a little bit and they need to catch up so that we have to have applications that are going to be on par with all of their competitors, such as Google Now and Google Maps and, Cortana. So that's what I'm hoping for.
It's interesting that both Google, Microsoft are doing virtual reality, Facebook even doing virtual reality. We know Apple's bought virtual reality companies. I keep thinking that there might be a surprise today in that area as well. Apple's probably not ready to do that. And
I'm expecting more of a joke about nodding towards everybody wants to sell you something that won't work for 3 years. We're selling you something today that works great.
Yeah.
Which is the good thing that Apple does, is that Apple doesn't bring out and say, this is what we're going to give you, which causes everyone to expect something, and then you have to wait, and everyone's always anticipating and angry about it. I think that Apple does a great job with only coming out with things that are usually, besides Siri, is usually working exceptionally well at the get-go.
Yeah, Siri still doesn't do some of the things it did. Wait, here's the rehearsal?
WWDC opening number.
It's a joke, probably.
I think I've always been attracted to risk.
That's a hater.
When I
from
shared
Saturday
my
Night Live.
vision for the number,
Bill Hader.
they said, hey, this is just a developer's
He's brilliant.
He's so funny. He'd be a great Tim Cook.
Wouldn't he?
I always feel that my job as a director is to push an idea. What's that?
This is a real departure for Apple.
I don't know. What?
Yeah.
Hey, David.
No, they did a Tim Long. They did parodies before.
Did they? At the beginning of the...
Yeah. Yeah, no, remember they had John Hodgman come on.
You were talking to yourself.
I've been working on this new app called Work Crush. It's for people who have crushes on their workmates and want to know when they're nearby. It's not for me, but yeah. Oh, hi, David.
Yeah, I thought you were supposed to be guarding my door.
Which one's your door?
Rick,
Angry
Rick,
Birds?
Need you angry in there, Rick. Need you angry. Angry. Yeah. Did you get that email about my email not working?
No.
Is that other bird Twitter? What was that other bird?
No, it needs to be more, like...
Yeah, it means bigger.
Bigger, yeah, like developers are on fire.
Which iPhone you want for the main character, silver or gold?
You see silver?
Sitting
Poor
having
guy's
a
got to
conversation.
stand there burning.
You see gold? See, I can't tell because the reflection of the flames on it, and I can't...
Can we decide this later?
Yeah, he's right. Let's decide it later.
We'll take the gold. Is that a TV talent for the dating app number?
Yes.
Where do I know the lady from?
No. Yes. No.
Yeah, she's familiar looking. I don't know.
Pretty one.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, God, the cats.
Drones.
That's my coffee!
Drone giving him his coffee.
Did you bring my sugar or anything?
Coffee course blown off by the drone. They're all Tim Cook lookalikes.
Yeah.
Google likes you.
Oh,
That must have been a great ad on Craigslist.
you guys are good to get wet,
Yeah.
right?
SFA
Guys are
area.
good to get wet. Hey, there's a lift mustache. So we're talking about apps, obviously.
Faces of WWDC.
There's Leo of Leo's
Get
Fortune.
it all, huh? Well, not the real
Some
faces,
Egyptian
the masks
things.
that they give you. What's this?
Goat Simulator.
Similar. I'm not feeling it.
Oh, I love the goat simulator.
Me too.
It's got the Viking mask.
This is a real tip of the hat to all the great Apple apps.
There he is. Hey!
David, what have you got me into here? Am I
Oh,
like
from
a
Veep.
Victoria's Secrets guy?
You are an angel investor. You make millions off kids' dreams.
Spend money on this. It's
So I'm just
amazing.
a rich guy.
You're a rich
The
guy.
angel investor has giant wings.
I'm sorry. I think this is bigger than Noah Wiley coming out before Steve
Yeah.
Jobs or John Hodgman coming
Oh,
out.
that's all right, buddy. No worries.
There's some money. Oh, my. Money's coming out of the angel who's been suspended in the sky.
Okay, let's run it. No. I say. When we
But that's
run
the guy
it,
with
let's
the
see
in
if it
the
works.
in the ad for like, are you on Woo Woo?
Oh, woo-woo guy.
Thank you.
So many days of deaf time. Haven't seen a ray
Oh,
of sunshine.
Parks and Rec guy.
Locked in my code
We're really bad at identifying people.
Exactly. Well,
This is like being at home with you,
Okay, well, that's
Andy.
a tiger on the
It's,
painting in the
you know,
back,
it's
all
that, basically, you're at home with us watching this show. We're trying to give some sense of what's going on to people who are listening to audio only. Apologize for describing what you're seeing. I don't even know how to describe what you're
Yeah,
seeing right
to a certain
now.
extent, we're shielding the audio audience from what's really happening here.
I wish I were there to see how this was, we're playing in the room.
It's just got to be on a big screen, right?
I don't know, like reaction.
Oh, how well I see how the audience is taking. I think it's great.
He's hiding behind his assistant as things explode.
Community, not Parks and Rec, Andy.
Oh, whatever. NBC canceled by a stupid network that doesn't care about it.
Oh, I love the
Close
ball.
enough.
Up and running.
I don't know, maybe 24 hours?
Well, what am I supposed to do with this? Guys, we go live tomorrow. That's just a bottle of water and a laptop.
I don't know. I think it's kind of pretty.
Bill Hader's thinking.
Appreciating the simplicity of it all.
Yes.
All right, we'll work with it. Whoever walks out there better have something pretty incredible to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you should have went with the dancing apps.
By the way, that was not Moscone West. It looked like the Opera House, or I don't know what theater that was, but it was not Moscone West. And here we
They
go.
asked Google if they could put off the keynote so they could do it.
Tim Cook taking the stage
Yep.
as we begin WWDC 2015.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
First CEO we associate
Thanks
thumbs
for
up.
joining us, and welcome to San Francisco. Welcome to WWDC 2015. Although we may not have any, thank you, high-flying trapeze acts, we
Have that
do
man
have
killed.
a lot of great things to talk about this morning.
Sir, will you come
Escorted
with me?
out
This
slowly.
developer
Yeah, put him on the
conference
list.
continues to be the epicenter of change for
He
not
won't
only
be back.
Apple, but the industry. This is our 26th WWDC. We have attendees today from over
That's kind of
70
amazing.
countries, and 80% are here for the very first time.
It's like a geek concert.
Yeah.
I hear
70
the
countries,
excitement.
80% first-time attendees.
This is our most global conference ever. And a special shout out to our 350 scholarship winners.
That is a big part of their message this year.
Yeah. And these are middle school, high school, and college students,
These
right?
guys are
Also some
unbelievable.
middle-aged
I spent
guys.
some time with them yesterday.
Really?
Our youngest scholarship
I saw that on Twitter
winner
this morning.
is a 12-year-old girl from New York. She's going to
Nice.
have a fantastic future ahead. We've
Can't
got
put women
over
on stage, at
100
least you can do
sessions
that.
planned for you, and over 150 labs so that you can get your hands on our latest technologies. And we've got over 1,000 Apple engineers to answer just about any question that you might have. Now, we had a lot more people that would have liked to have been here this morning, but unfortunately, we just can't fit any more in, as you can tell. And so for the first time, we're not only live streaming the keynote, but we're live streaming 30 sessions of the conference as
That's
well.
great, because usually they NDA people and kick them out. But
Yeah.
the fact that you could watch this, even if you're not there, is great.
Now, before
We've
we
been
get right
relaxing
to
that
the
stuff for the past
show,
couple of years.
I'd like to bring up something that I saw on the news just a few days ago. This is Brandon Moss of the Cleveland Indians, and he hit his 100th career home run last Tuesday. Obviously, it's a huge milestone if you're a baseball player. Not a lot of people do this. And you can imagine how much that ball would mean to him to have it. But it turns out the ball was hit into the Indians' bullpen.
I feel
His
like
teammates decided to play a bit of a
if this were the
prank
good
on
wife,
him.
I'd be leaping to my feet
They
saying,
decided
"Objection,
to
Your
hold
Honor."
it for
Exactly.
I feel like Aaron Sorkin is already
This
writing all
is
this
the
stuff.
list.
Where are we going with this?
Yeah,
Apple
it's a strange
Watches,
way to start it off.
iPads, MacBook Airs,
There was a big
iPhones.
block of cheese weighing over
It's
2
unbelievable.
tons.
It's a shopping list
The
for
attorney
Apple
is
Store.
testifying, Your Honor.
Now,
I get it. Baseball
Brandon
players
would
want
have had
Apple
to
stuff
raid
too.
an Apple store to get that ball
But we
back.
gave it
That didn't
to
seem
him.
quite right to us.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to pay the ransom.
That's
and
cute. Incidentally, we are going to be snarky and comment
I
on
have
this
the
the
ball
entire
right
time.
here.
So if you want to watch the live stream without our commentary, apple.com is streaming this. You must have an Apple device and Safari, latest version of
We're
Safari to
giving
watch
the
it.
ball to Brandon, and we're going to give
We're happy
everything his teammates asked for to them, so everybody's happy. So congratulations, Brandon, on 100 home runs, and good luck on the next 100.
Which is nice, but not like they can't afford it all.
Yeah,
on their own.
exactly. That's what I was thinking as well.
I was hoping they were
Brandon
gonna give it to,
Moss has a $6.5 million a year contract with the Cleveland Indians. I think he could afford an
We're bringing
iPad.
a whole bunch
Just
of new
saying.
great capabilities to the Macintosh. And next, we've got a great update for iOS, the world's most advanced mobile operating system. And today, we're bringing native apps to the watch
Good news.
with a new version.
This is not unexpected. In fact, Apple's even promised that this would
With a
happen
new
by the
version
fall.
Yeah.
of the Watch OS, which gives the developers even more time.
Interesting, though. They're making a
WatchOS.
distinction between iOS and
greater
watchOS now.
apps
Yeah.
For the watch that will change the world. Now, all three of these ecosystems together provide incredible opportunities for developers and
Interesting to see the word
unbelievable
watch spelled out in
possibilities
lowercase stuffed in front of OS like that.
So we're very excited about this. There's a lot here, and so I'm going to
WOS would
dispense
have been
with my
good.
normal
Could have called it
updates,
That's interesting.
other than to tell you everything's
Wow,
going great.
this would be the first time they haven't talked about how much money they're making.
Yeah.
Stores are doing in China.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring out
Some
my
Apple
friend
Watches in
and
that front
colleague,
row there.
I think it's beyond time to do that, but
OS 10 and iOS.
it's hard to follow up Google's. Let me tell you about this farmer whose crops were dying but used our free services.
Listen to the cheers for Craig Federighi. He is in charge of operating systems at Apple and has the best hair at Apple in the C-levels.
Well, Chris Breen
I
works
think in the
somehow.
industry.
Maybe in the industry. He's got Chris Breen
I'm
hair.
thrilled to be able to share it with you today. We're going to start with OS 10. Now, our current release, Yosemite, is a big, bold, beautiful release with a gorgeous new UI and breakthrough features like continuity that let you work across your devices like never before. Now, the adoption rate for Yosemite is just incredible. In fact, over 55% of active Mac users are running our latest update, and this is just unprecedented in the history of our industry. In fact,
Showing Windows 8.1
Yosemite
adoption
has the
basically
fastest
flat.
adoption rate for any PC operating system ever. So thank you.
It's not apples to apples.
Not at all. They give it away. It's done yearly.
Yeah.
So for our next big release of OS 10, we knew we wanted to build on those
I think
strengths of
Microsoft
Yosemite
really wants to emulate,
with some
frankly,
really
what
great
Apple's doing with their
refinements and
operating
advances.
system, starting with
The only real
Windows
question,
10.
of course, was what to call it. So we had
A
to
lot-
once
a lot of
again
people have, like,
Capitan.
to our crack
Capitan.
Apple marketing team. Now, in
El
typical
Jefe.
California fashion, they started with a project kickoff meeting and then headed immediately into a
Yeah,
team
they're smart.
building offsite.
Because this is
they got-
developer humor, right?
Yeah.
Now, of
This
course,
is,
they're
this
in
is
their
the way to
traditional
appeal to
Apple
developers.
marketing Free Bottom Fridays attire. They say it's all part of their process.
I feel like now they have
I'm sure
professional
I get
writers.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Ultimately, this didn't yield any names, so they called in a consultant.
So who volunteered to have
He
OS
told them
10
the
paint on their
answer
backs and
was
write
to be
their
found
butt on a
within.
bicycle
Naked.
in front of a million
Not
people
within
No,
themselves,
honestly, we will.
but within
we'll
Yosemite.
blur it out, I
And
promise.
so the
As you
new
know, your
name
contract
for
is up in
OS
3
10
months.
Is OS 10.
I feel like Bruce Valanche is
El
writing for this.
Capitan.
It is El Capitan. Look at that. I don't know. It's
Strange.
strange. It's different language. Well, that's
Yeah.
a tip of the hat to the
For El
international.
Capitan, we focused in two major areas.
No.
Experience and performance. For experience, we've
It's a
made
lot of
Spotlight
words, a lot of
more
letters.
expressive, more powerful, and more knowledgeable than ever. We've made big enhancements to the apps you use most, and
Spider
we've
in
made
our
some real great
chat room says,
advancements
"Oh, El
in the
Capitan,
area of
Mike,
how you
El
manage
Capitan."
Windows on the system. But rather than just talk about it, I'd like to
take,
show it to you. So
Walter
let's start
Winchell
with a
and
demo
Vision
right
Grey.
now.
I just say Walter Winchell. I meant Walt Whitman.
Somebody.
My brain is not
Somebody.
working today.
First task, of course, in a demonstration or whenever you wake
Walter
your Mac,
Winchell.
is finding the cursor. And El Capitan makes this easier than ever. I just do that little shake we all normally do.
Oh,
There it is. It comes
like
right
that.
Thank God.
It's really handy.
I always lose the cursor.
That's something that's only really become a problem with these super high-res screens.
Now, we
It
brought
really is
other great
difficult
gestures
to
to the
find your
system. I'm just
mouse.
going to go here and mail.
I had an application on Windows 15 years ago that did that.
Yeah.
It's a great
Well, now-
feature.
Yeah.
That's a keeper.
There's Craig
So I can
hanging
actually
from a
mark
rock.
it, unread to keep it just by swiping two fingers across the trackpad,
they're,
just like that.
Yeah,
Incorporating.
We're going to see
Kinda like to delete,
some
so I'm
force
just
test
gonna-
gestures here too.
Swipe it away just like that. So some real nice little gestures. Let's move on now to Safari. Now in Safari,
I don't know if
have
that works
some
as well on the
sites that I
desktop
like
as
to
it does
keep
on a mobile
around
device.
because I refer
Well,
to them on
it's
and
part
off
of making
throughout
the entire
day.
experience
And
seamless
now,
between
Seamless.
phones and watches and
Safari,
everything.
I can pin those sites
Get
just
us used
like
to the
this.
ecosystem.
So there's
This is a
I'm gonna
Chrome
pin
feature,
my
the ability
Twitter
to pin
site here.
tabs.
And of course, I've been following the Warriors. Go Warriors! We're going to get it done.
Very exciting
Just
first two
like
games
that.
in that
Now,
playoffs.
pin
here.
sites have a lot of special properties. For one, if I close this window and reopen it, you see that my pin sites are all right there, and they load instantly.
That's nice.
Now, pin sites also behave
Something
differently
Chrome
when
does
I
not
follow
do well.
links. So I'm just going to click on one here, and you notice it opens in a new tab, but my pin site remains. Now I'm going to open up a couple of more links. Let's open up this one, and let's say this
This is
one.
actually really how
Quick
people want to
look.
use browsers,
This
I
one
think.
looks like
is
some kind of
Yeah.
presentation video.
Have a
There's
standard
the
set of
giants.
tabs.
But have you ever had this happen to you? You're like, where is this audio coming from? Well, now, with just a tap, you can
Again,
mute
a Chrome feature.
or find out where it came from.
Chrome doesn't
and
work
shut
quite
it
as well as
down,
that.
Just like that.
And it shows a little music icon, and you can find the tab.
But that it addresses what you really want to do, saying shut up everything except for the frontmost tab.
This Giants game.
That's
and now
nice. You're
Spotlight
right.
can actually help me out there. So I'm just going to do a search for the SF Giants. And we see right now I get current game scores, upcoming
Of course,
games.
Google does this with their
looks like
knowledge
the game I
graph.
wanna
This is
go
something
to on
Apple would
Friday,
really
so
like
I
to
can
do,
just
is take
search for
over from
weather
Google,
on
get Google
Friday.
out as much as
See, we get the
possible.
weather.
I wonder where that data's
and,
coming from.
Can even
Yeah, interesting.
resize the Spotlight panel and move it
Probably
around.
Weather Underground.
I mean, there's innovation, huh?
And the Giant
So-
stuff, you think from Wikipedia? I
But
think
I can
Google
also
uses
weather-
that.
weather.com.
In my own
Weather.com,
words
is that
in
what it said?
Spotlight searches.
There may
So
be
I can
Wolfram
things like
Alpha, depending on what you...
From Brian.
Yeah, Siri
I
uses
find those
Wolfram.
there, but how about slides from Brian about El Capitan? You see, I find exactly what I'm looking
Natural
for
language
in my
search.
own words. Now, this works great in other apps as well. Let's
This is
try
a
it
little
out
controversial
in
when
Mail.
Microsoft
So I've
did
been
this
really
in
busy,
Windows
of
8.
course,
They
the last couple
incorporated
of days, and so I've been getting a little
web
behind on my
search into
mail.
their
And I want to see the
local
messages
search.
Yeah.
that
I think
I've
people have
received
gotten
from
used to
Phil,
it,
but
though.
that I
Yeah.
haven't responded to yet. So I'm just going to say Mail.
I would prefer that Apple improve their
ignored
local
from
search, because it's really
Phil.
difficult right
Yeah,
now.
that's nice. So it's just giving like a Newton message pad sort of sentence. Search for
good.
mail I ignored from Phil.
Natural language is great. Hard to do.
Yeah, like how many Phils are there?
Right.
And how's it going to define ignore? But
These demos for natural language always look good because they use a constrained.
right. But it would be pretty
vocabulary.
big if this isn't being demonstrated as a mail feature, as much as this is something that's going to be built into Spotlight. That's
It looks
available
like
to
that,
pretty much
yeah.
everything.
So this
It
is
looks like
really
that.
a great way to search. Now, next I want to turn to window management. So I'm just going to run a script here that's going to open up a whole bunch of windows
We're
to
looking at new
simulate
features
kind of what
in
my
the next
desktop
version of
looks
OS
like
10.
after a day working on OS 10.
OS 10,
because it's a
10.11,
powerful system.
El
We tend to have a
Capitan.
lot of things open. Now,
Seems to be
OS 10
sticking
provides
to
some great
rumors that
ways to navigate
not huge
the
features, but
windows,
things
and
that
one of
make
those is mission
everything
control.
easier to use.
Well, now in El Capitan, we've made mission control smoother, simpler, and faster than ever. I'm just going to take 3 fingers and swipe up on the trackpad. You see I get into this gorgeous overview of mission control. I'll just bring forward Safari. Let's do that again and bring up Mail.
I hardly ever
Just
use
like that.
this.
Works
already
really
exists?
great.
I don't either.
But of course, OS
I almost
10
get
provides great
upset when
tools
I,
also to
by mistake,
organize your windows. And
Yeah.
one of those is
Mission
full
Exactly.
scroll.
That's why I've turned that gesture
Just gonna
off. I
take
just
this
figured
Right.
then there's the 4-second
And I'm gonna
pause because it's
reply.
low on
Looks like
memory.
There's a message
Yes.
here from Eddie. He says that he sorry about bailing on the team
Again,
dinner
great
last
demo, but
night.
let's see how
He
it works
was,
in real life.
Apparently prepping for the keynote, so that's understandable. But it looks like actually I just got a new mail from Jeff here, and now I can just click away, and it hides, and then hold on. Busted,
LeBron.
Eddie. So I
Is that
can
Eddie?
drag
Is that Eddie
right into my
courtside?
Compose
Look at
window.
that.
Pops right up
Nice.
automatically, and I can
Nice.
just
You're
like
not
that.
working.
It's really great. And I can even open up tabs in Compose
That's awesome.
as well. It's really handy. So this is a great way now to work in full screen in Mail.
It's kind of Windows Snap.
Yeah, kind of.
I wonder if that just makes it more
Now, we've
complicated.
done something totally new to El Capitan, and it's the ability to work really easily on 2 windows side by side. So I'm just going to click
Yeah,
and
this
hold
is
here
Snap.
on the green button.
This
You
is
see
totally
it's
Windows Snap.
prompting me to pick a side.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll just drop it in.
Oh, God.
And you notice I get an expose of all my other windows. Let me pick the new news app, just like that.
So Microsoft did this because they're expecting full screen apps and they're expecting tablet
Yeah.
users, but there's no touch on OS 10.
Of course, I can resize this window to style it
Yeah,
just
this
the way
is Snap.
I want. How about
Yeah.
that blur? Again, innovation.
But that's something that also would translate very, very well
Great
to
way to work.
iOS.
Here
Yeah,
I can
Jason
drag a
Clancy
link,
just
for
said
instance,
iPad
from
Pro.
Safari.
I think
Yeah,
you're right,
that's exactly
Jason.
how they do it.
Right in here, and you notice in the new Notes app, I get a beautiful graphical link that gives me a
Everything.
nice
You always
thumbnail
think
that
about
helps me
how well will
identify,
this work when they try to
what
express
I
it in
drag
iOS
there.
and vice
I'm
versa.
going to drag
Yeah.
in.
It's
some
risky,
yurts.
though. I mean, that's
Think
really where
yurts, first
Microsoft
time
went
mentioned
wrong
on
with
the
Windows
Well,
8.
but also think about those Siri features for
Got some
Spotlight.
yurts here.
Show me
It's a
mails from
great
Phil
way
that he
to
sent
work
from the beach house.
Split screen. But we've also provided a really easy way to move windows into their own desktops. So let me just take this window here. I'm just going to drag it up past the top of the screen and drop it in just like that. So easy. But I can also do this to take a window full screen. So let's take photos, just drop it in right here. I took it full screen. And now check this out. I'm going to take messages, drop it
All
on
throughout
photos,
tweets, Apple should
and create
invent
a
the
split
Charms
view.
bar next.
Just like that. Totally awesome.
Yeah. These are the things I really like about Windows 8.
And that is a
But
quick look
I
at
have
some
to say,
improvements to the
I don't have a
experience
problem with
in El
one
Capitan.
company copying another. This is
No,
this is how the
it's
industry
awesome.
moves forward. Is the best ideas from everything.
If you see an idea that will benefit consumers, just take it.
Yeah.
And the little touches in here are nice. They haven't just copied it. They've made little improvements, subtle improvements, and that's always nice too.
A reminder, Mike Ellis, that if you want to watch the stream commentated, Apple streaming at apple.com. This is where you tune in to see the commentary.
And the ability to easily mute tabs. A great new Notes app that supports text styling, checklists, and graphical links. And better window management than ever with a beautiful new mission control interface.
That first bird was from Monument Valley.
Easy access to your spaces bar. And of course, the ability to do split view and adjust it to see exactly what you're looking for. Every pixel of your display devoted to your content. Of course, there's much more to experience in El Capitan, but now I want to turn to
Redesigned disk
performance.
utility.
So we've optimized performance throughout the system.
It's everybody
In fact, we're
screenshotting
seeing
that
about
one
a
frame.
1.4
Trying to
times
read all the-
acceleration in app
We'll
launching,
read that later.
a 2x improvement in the snappiness of switching apps, the time to get first mail messages twice as fast, and opening a PDF in preview 4 times as fast.
Yeah, this is what we
But we've
were
also
kind
made
of
deep
telegraphed by
architectural
Apple.
improvements,
That this would be
and
about
that brings
performance and
to Metal.
reliability improvements more than anything else.
Yep.
Last year,
Did Metal have a logo before?
we
I
introduced
don't recall.
I think that's the El Capitan
WWDC.
version.
It's a way to accelerate
think it did.
graphics in high-performance games. It takes the overhead out of OpenGL, providing a high-performance API that gives the game direct access to the power of the underlying graphics hardware. Well, this year, we're bringing Metal to the Mac. And we're
Metal
doing
is
more than
DirectX
that,
or
because
you
we're
know, the-
taking the graphics stacks on which apps on OS X are built.
Chad
core
Johnson
animation,
says,
core
"You ever think
graphics,
Metallica
and
will
moving
sue?"
them
It
from
does kind of
OpenGL to run
look-
natively.
It's a
on
tilted
top of
Metallica,
Metal,
the
making
M.
everything you do faster. We're seeing 50% improvements in rendering performance and a 40% reduction in the amount of CPU necessary to do graphics. That means improved performance for your applications and better battery life. But the benefits of
They may
Metal
not
don't
sue, but
stop
they may be
there.
deciding to come up
Metal's
on stage
also great
afterwards.
For high-performance apps.
Just a
In
trade-off.
fact, Metal combines the compute power of OpenCL and the graphics power of OpenGL in a higher performance
I'm looking more closely at
API
that baseball
that does
list,
both.
and there were
And
other
what we've seen
non-Apple
from working
products
with early pro
on that
developers
list.
is really phenomenal. Adobe came
Was there
in
catering?
in short
No, a
order,
50-gallon
able
drum
to
of
deliver
lube, it looks
8
like.
times improvement in their rendering inside of After
Don't know if that
Effects.
Tim Cook read that
And they've been able
closely.
to take the drawing engine in Illustrator, move it on top
Oh,
of
the
Metal,
power to be your
and
best.
take
Wheels for the
tons of
mind.
UI that previously was non-interactive, like Zoom of extremely detailed drawings, and make it completely flawless and interactive.
Next section of liberal
thanks
arts,
to Metal.
engineering, and the red light district.
Adobe's so pleased with this, they've said they're committed to adopting Metal on their OS X apps, seeing performance increases up to
So it's really
8x.
interesting to bring Metal to OS
Excited
X. I don't know.
what it can do for their Creative Cloud users.
I don't know how much of that
Metal
is
also
technology coming to OS X and
Branding.
how much of it is, yeah, we
Branding.
decided to apply this
improvement, that's
word.
10
Yeah.
times. Improvement in drawing performance. And so we brought in
That is a nice quote.
Epic
Having a
to see what they
Photoshop
can
on
do in
board,
short order,
they're usually
and the
spoken
results are really
with
phenomenal.
derision and
I'd
not
like to
pride.
welcome to the stage Josh
And yet,
Adams
it's
and
one of the
Billy
most
Bramer
important
for a
app
quick
products
demo.
on the platform.
Thank you, Craig.
Oh, they Photoshop.
Thank you very
Okay,
much
so
for
they
having us here
Photoshopped
today.
out that particular
So last year,
request on the
Metal
baseball.
revolutionized graphics.
Yeah, but they
on
did it
iOS.
1.4%
And now,
faster.
Apple's
Yes.
amazed us again by bringing Metal to the Mac. Of course, this is great news for games, but also for the tools that we use to make those games. Here, you're seeing Epic's upcoming multiplayer title, Fortnite, running entirely on Metal. We're modifying it directly within the Unreal Engine.
Are we keeping
a
track of
development tool
tucked-in
that powers
shirts and
many
not
of
tucked-in
today's
shirts?
best games.
It's the over-under today.
Yeah, he's
Quite a bit going
conspicuously
on in the
untucked.
scene, though, so let's break it down.
I mean, tucked.
Yeah, you
First,
might want to
there are
untuck.
64 different
I think they
Oh,
banned
rendering
Infinity
effects,
scarves, though.
and that's a lot.
year.
They're all combining together, though.
This is very analogous to what Microsoft did with DirectX. Apple's always promoted OpenGL. But Apple's OpenGL implementation has never been very good. So I wonder if this is a response to that.
Detailed lighting, runtime shadows, and finally, we combine them all together to bring Fortnite's fun and lighthearted aesthetic to life. The interesting thing here, though, is that all of the effects you're seeing
that you're
are
not
being
watching
done
a game, you're
completely in
watching a
real time.
Photoshop.
Notice how the shadows and objects interact nicely as Josh moves the car around.
That is cool.
Finally, we can change the time of day on the fly, dramatically altering the mood of the entire scene. All of this is thanks to the efficiency of Metal. In fact, we're seeing a 70% reduction in CPU use compared to OpenGL, enabling developers like us to create richer
Again,
3D
Apple's
worlds.
OpenGL drivers have
Speaking of
historically
those
been
worlds,
horrific.
let's hop into the
Right.
game.
Yeah,
Force.
and that's so. This is more
Now,
of a
if you've ever
testimony to
built
how
a
bad
Build
OpenGL
That's right.
was.
It's faster than their OpenGL.
Yeah.
You already know how to play Fortnite. This is the end of the world scenario you've been training for since you were a kid.
I put in
Beautifully
a new video card to my
stylized
old Mac
universe, you
Pro,
can
and
explore
we're getting
anything you want.
very little improvement in
Gather
OpenGL
resources,
benchmarks till I
build a fort.
installed Windows in the
So let's
Mac
go ahead
Pro.
and wreck this car.
And then you saw the difference.
Gather its
Ironically,
metal.
Microsoft does a better job.
Continue our wanton destruction by chopping down this tree. Get some wood for later.
See, I think for most people, because they play games, they don't really understand what the differences are. And they're like, well, you know, why can't it play exactly as I would play on any other system?
Right.
So,
And this broom.
Apple has historically had a hard time getting game developers to embrace the platform. And partly that is because of the lack of good tools
We
for.
mentioned the storms are made of monsters.
Also, they're not tracking the high-end hardware. You can build a game screamer as opposed to just having to deal with where you got stock.
This
It's
looks
fine
like a
for
really
most
unappealing game.
It's a goat simulator with some guy and a guitar.
Yeah, it's Grand Theft Auto minus the, I don't
I
know.
would have liked to have seen the demo that they gave last year, where you're in that. This is the opposite of the Zen garden they showed us last
I
year.
know.
right.
They've got people
right.
like
Little angrier.
killing zombies as opposed to.
Yeah.
Oh, you can look how easily you can rake the
And
sand.
I got to point out that the graphics in this are totally second rate to any
Yes.
PC game.
Yeah.
Not even the top titles.
Yeah.
I think I would be happier if there was a goat.
Yeah.
I think that would
Yeah.
distract me from
This is
the,
not
the
particularly
little bit of
impressive
choppiness
graphics.
and
It's
Yeah.
yeah,
Slight
the
amount of
shading is.
slowdown.
Yeah, the shading is very wee.
Compare this to Far Cry, and
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
Rich and engaging worlds. You
Not
can
even
download
the
the
best.
Unreal Engine for Mac right now, and the Fortnite beta for Mac starts this fall. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
even the audience couldn't cheer exceptionally loudly for that.
That was great. We've been totally impressed with what Epic has been able to accomplish in such a short time. And this is in part because the work they did to adopt Metal in their rendering engines for iOS immediately pays dividends.
So in other words, OS 10, it's the best version of OS 10 we've ever shipped.
made.
Their
Yeah.
gaming engines
But
immediately
that is a good point.
And pro app
If people are buying are building games for iOS, you can easily now port them over to Mac because you're just basing it all on the same engine now.
Yeah.
Gamers and all of us benefiting from the performance advantages of Metal. So that is El Capitan, improvements to experience and performance. Now, El Capitan is available to all of you developers today. We'll be doing a public beta once again in July, and we'll be rolling out to everyone
That's soon.
a free upgrade
Yeah.
this fall.
Yeah.
And that's our update
And
on
cool
OS
stuff.
10.
I'm glad the public beta system is not just a one-off. It must have worked out well for them last year. There are people who just want to be on that bleeding edge that don't write software.
Next, you guessed it, iOS. Now, our current big release of iOS.
Well, Microsoft
is
benefits
iOS 8.
hugely from
And
these
iOS 8
public
was a
betas.
huge release.
They instrument it.
Tons
They
of
know
new
what
features
people
for
do. They
users.
don't do.
And a phenomenal set of
reactions.
technologies
Yeah, it's a
that
great
you
way to go.
developers
Yeah.
have been able to use
As long as
to
you can
deliver
take the heat.
all new experiences to the platform. The upgrade rate
don't
for
think there'll be any heat.
iOS
This
has been
looks good.
fantastic. We have 83% of active iPhone users currently running the latest OS. And this is
That's pretty
really
good,
important.
considering many of
Because
those
not only
users
they
are using
getting
iPhone
the most
4s.
recent features,
That's a
but
good.
also
That's probably the
up-to-date on all
17% left
security,
over.
I can
fixes,
feel the coming
and
shaming of
you're able
Android.
to know as a
Yeah.
developer that you
Where's
can
that
target
line?
all the users with the latest and greatest APIs. And this is a
can't
benefit
even
that
see
actually
it.
remains really
There it is.
unique.
Yeah.
There we go.
to iOS.
Called it.
12%.
Well, so as we look forward,
Again, I mean,
See it.
it's almost fraudulent.
It's apples and oranges.
so we're now looking
Lollipop
forward
is
to iOS 9. And as
being
we
held
can
up
see
more by the
of what we
carriers
wanted to
and the
accomplish,
manufacturers than
Yeah.
anybody
First
else.
and foremost, we wanted to
And
elevate
also,
the
you
foundation.
got 1 billion people using it.
Right.
Things like
New users,
extending
so
your
it's-
battery life, improving performance, and enhancing security to protect customer data. But there was more we wanted to do. adding intelligence throughout the user
Here we go.
experience in the way
Oh,
that
I'm excited.
enhances how you use your device, but without compromising your privacy. Things like improving the apps that you use most and taking the experience
Siri
of the iPad to the next level. I want to start today with intelligence and Siri. Now,
Beautiful.
Siri has quietly become incredibly popular. It serves over 1 billion requests per week. And this is in part because Siri has gotten so great at understanding what we're saying. In just the last year, it's seen a 40% reduction in word error
Google
rate.
had a very
down
similar
to
statistic at
5%.
Google I/O.
That's an industry-leading number. And Siri's 40% faster than ever at responding to what we say. Now, for iOS 9, Siri has a beautiful new UI and is capable of doing so much more. Things like show me photos from
just
Utah
like the watch.
last August.
Yeah.
And instantly
This is a
show you
strike
the right
against Google Photos.
from your photo library.
They've got to respond to
And
that.
Siri's
I think
really
they're losing
great
market share to
at
that
taking
very rapidly,
reminders.
Jesse,
Yeah.
from what
Now
I-
you can ask
what I hear
Siri
users
things like,
saying.
remind me to grab my coffee off the roof of my car when I get in. Because Siri knows now
need
when
that
you've
one.
gotten in the car.
Now that's good.
Yeah.
We often want to take reminders about
Or
things that we're
MacBook,
looking at
more
on our device, some
importantly.
content inside of
Right.
an app, maybe a Safari. And so now you can say things like, remind me about this when I get home, and that reminder refers right back the link to specifically
good.
what you were looking at when you took that
This
reminder.
is similar to
So Siri is a
Google
great
Now and,
assistant.
on tap. Now on tap.
Assistants
Contextual
are
awareness.
proactive. And so in iOS 9,
So this
we're
is what we'd
bringing
heard rumored
proactivity
about.
Proactive assistance.
throughout the system. So say you like to run in the morning, and when you do, you like to listen to
So
music.
they're taking away one of the
Well, now,
major
your phone can learn that
differentiators for
about you.
Google
When you
Now.
plug in your headphones,
Proactive.
can offer up
They're
now
addressing
playing
the gap.
automatically
Let's-
right on the
let's say
lock
they're
screen.
addressing the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And this is all context sensitive to the time, the place, and even the devices you're connected to. So you do the same thing in the car later on, and it might offer up the ebook,
Joshua
the
Topolsky
audiobook that
tweets,
you've been listening
Apple
to.
announces Google Now at
Now, as a
WWDC.
great assistant, your iPhone can now take invitations that you receive in your email, and without you even touching them, automatically put them on your calendar, and even give you a time to leave reminder, taking into account current traffic
Love
conditions.
that feature.
And
Yeah.
of course, with
Again,
just a swipe,
Google
Google
Now
Now.
feature.
give
Yeah.
you access to driving directions.
But that requires
Now,
advanced maps.
Have you ever had
Yeah.
this
That's
happen to you?
one of the reasons Apple wants to
You get a
take the
call,
stuff
and
back.
the number
they
looks
want to own
kind of
this.
familiar, but you're really not sure who it is.
I wonder
Well,
if you have
the
to use
great
Apple's
assistant, your phone
email
can now look in your
for it to
email
harvest the email.
and find out who that person might be and suggest it to you right on the incoming call screen. It's super handy.
Maybe that's Johnny Appleseed. I have an app on Android that does that, and it
Now,
goes a lot farther than
this
looking at
kind
my
of
email.
proactivity is also great when it comes to search. So now when you swipe to the left of the home screen to get to search, you see that Siri offers great suggestions. Things like the people that
Yeah,
you
this
might
is
want to
making Siri more
contact
like
now based on
Cortana
your
in a
upcoming
way.
meetings and
But
your
that's interesting that they're
communication patterns. The apps
referring to these features
that you might
as
wanna launch,
Siri.
Yeah.
based, for
Even the
instance,
stuff that
what you
goes
just
that you're
downloaded
not
from the
using
App
for
Store
voice
and haven't
stuff.
yet
That's
tried
interesting.
out, or apps that you tend to use this
So
time of
now
day.
Siri is an
And
assistant
also,
with a voice
easy
interface.
one-tap links to
Siri is
locations
Cortana, yeah.
that are relevant
Exactly.
nearby, and even breaking news. And when it comes to search, we also know more than ever before. So for instance, you can search for sports scores. And we now support video search of popular video sites like Vivo, Vimeo, YouTube, and the
They're going
iTunes
down this
Store.
road, but
And
they
have these
also
great
brag about not
descriptive cards
harvesting
with a
personal
Yeah.
information.
And
so
that's the challenge.
Yeah.
from your search result.
Google
What do you
does
mean
so
by
well with
conversion?
Google Now because it knows so much
We now
about
have
you.
an
Exactly.
API
And Google's willing
for
to do
search.
that. Apple's not.
It does the things that Tim Cook criticizes them
Right.
for doing. So they're going to compete. They're going to have to do that too.
So now when a user performs a search, we can find content behind the apps they have installed on the device and pull those up in results. And when they tap, they're
See, I
deep
wonder if
linked
they're going to allow us
directly
to have
into the
choice over
application.
what has access to
You see,
what
for
in
instance,
which
your Airbnb.
sandbox, or if they're
They can
going
get
to
their
just
results.
have access to everything. Because
Of course,
for
we
me
even
as a
provide a convenient
psychotherapist,
backlink
confidentiality
so
is
you
a
get
really
right
big
back
deal.
to
Good
their
point. You don't want
search.
a patient's number popping up
So
on
we
the
think
screen
these kinds of intelligent
saying,
features
hey, this might be that
This
crazy
is-
guy.
huge difference in your experience in iOS. And
That's
to
a
show
very
you
good
how,
point. I'm
I'd
sure
like
you
to
can
do a
block
quick
that.
demo now.
That's one thing Apple's done very well is the permissions.
They're usually really good,
Yeah.
and that's why I stick with Apple because
Yeah.
of that.
So
I just
taking
can't
your
risk
day in
it
the
or
life
risk
of
having
an
all
iOS
of the
9.
information,
And we're gonna
you know,
start
On your
suddenly
screen,
they're
yeah.
hacked out.
Typical day
Yeah.
for me, today
You're watching live coverage of WWDC 2015. Craig Federighi in charge of Apple's operating systems, demoing the new iOS 9. We also know there's a new Mac OS 10. El Capitan, available for public beta in July and shipping in the fall.
And I'm taken right in to meditate.
Com.com, Jason Calacanis, very happy. His investment. Getting
looks like I got
front
an
and
email.
center. I actually love com.com.
Yeah.
Despite the difficulty
Phil
of saying
says
it.
that he's putting together the invite for tonight's big karaoke potluck.
Yeah, this is addressing a lot of
Pick up
problems.
this super
Just like
awesome
he just showed
karaoke
off.
machine?
Siri has figured out that I tend to meditate at the same time every day, and so now on the lock screen there is an icon for my meditation app waiting for me in case I want to use it.
Right.
This would address limitations that we've been having with just the launcher being just 2007
Siri
dumb.
will put together a reminder.
So old
see the
school.
link.
You really do
Right
expect
back
this kind of
to what I'm looking
advance, though, in
Well, I think after
natural
all,
language and
meditation isn't
computer
probably for
understanding
me. So
on all
maybe I'll move
platforms. I
on
mean, this is
to
what
exercise.
computing's
So head
supposed to
into
be.
the,
This is
home gym
this is where
here.
we're supposed to be heading,
And
right?
because
My dream is that
knows
Apple will come
that
out with,
when
they certainly
I'm in
won't do
the
it today,
home gym and I
but
hook up headphones and I like to listen to
Amazon
music,
Echo-like
watch what happens
product,
when I plug
just
in
an appliance with a great speaker for the home,
headphones.
where I can talk to Siri.
Love that.
right in and
Echo's
offers
doing
me
such a
some
good
energetic
job. And
music.
really is
So let's all,
kind of
bust a
surprising
move.
people.
And today they announced that they are going to read Audible.com books to you.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Up.
Yeah.
Looks like actually I've got that invitation that Phil was going to send me. So now normally I'd have to actually go into mail, look at the time, put this on my calendar. But in fact, my phone has automatically done that for me. Let me just swipe down here into Notification Center and we'll look at my calendar for the day. And you notice that automatically it's already been added.
One of the
right there.
effects of all of this
Now, if
stuff
we
is
look
they're
at the
forcing
rest of my
people to
day, up
choose
ahead, I have,
Apple
my
apps
vocal warm-ups
like Calendar,
for the
like
karaoke
Mail, in order to take
Yeah.
advantage of these features. And I think it's part of their ongoing thermonuclear war against Google, because right now a lot of Apple users prefer the Google apps. But you can't take advantage of these Siri benefits unless you're using the Apple apps.
Recipes, for instance, I like to go into
Yeah,
search. So let's
and you're
just
never going to
swipe
get
over
the sort of
into search.
hooks into the.
And we see that
Google can
Siri
update the
accesses
Google
all
search
the
app, but they can't get this sort of interaction.
Made
Right.
suggestions for me for people I could contact, for instance, like Trent Reznor, my vocal coach. So I can
But
just
people will make that
tap.
choice to go back
here
if
I
it
can
saves
call
them
Trent up,
time
and
in
he can
that their
tap into my
applications are already going to think for them so that I don't have to put it in. Because I hate sticking anything into my calendar, setting up reminders. If it'll do it for me, yeah, I would choose to use that.
I can run and locations.
I think increasingly you're going to see this divide. If you use Google services, you're going to use Android. If you use Microsoft services, you're going to use Windows. If you use Apple services, you're going to use an iPhone.
Especially as they go down this road, the Google now on tap features require Android.
Right.
And here, they're sort of forcing everybody to choose.
That's too bad. When I switched to Evernote, that suddenly all my notes and all my links and everything all my idea files didn't make a difference. If I wanted to switch to Android, it doesn't make a difference. So I want to switch back to iOS. I hate this idea that a lot of people are going to say, I kind of like this phone, I kind of like these features, but I can't switch away from Android or I can't switch away from iOS.
Yeah.
It'll be too
Apple
hard.
invented this lock-in.
At least a double batch, so I can just use search.
It is a shame you can't choose the best tool. You have
to
to,
do a conversion of tablespoons.
choose the best
Figure out how much
company
that
or
is.
your preferred
So that
company.
actually is 3/4 of a cup. So I'm going to round up to an even quart and make myself.
We're really getting to the
some
point where
fine poutine.
it's becoming
He's
appliances.
making poutine?
So, search.
You must be
There you
very
go.
happy about this, Georgia Dad.
Very Canadian. I like this.
Authentic Canadian food.
He has great taste
Sucking
and
up to
hair.
Renee.
I'll be reminiscing about WWDC.
Sucking up to the iMore
I
machine.
can ask Siri to help me with that.
Three-quarters of the audience is going, what the hell is
Photos from
poutine?
last June in San Francisco.
Everyone should know what's poutine. That's it.
Cheese curds, my friends. Cheese
Oh
curds.
yeah, this is great.
Gravy.
All these photos.
Gravy.
French fries,
WWDC.
cheese
And you
curds.
notice
What
now
could be
photos
better?
in iOS 9 has this
I've
great
never
scrubber
actually
bar down
seen.
the bottom. So I can easily
You said
slide
Putin?
photos
How did you say it?
quickly, just like this.
Poutine.
Poutine.
Vladimir
Oh boy, now
Putin.
we're into the karaoke night. Oh, this is some
NX is-
fine stuff.
NX
Phil
is
really does
French fries.
an awesome Viking crooner. This is good stuff. But of course, the king of karaoke.
Oh, Lord. Eddie Q.
In fact, when I want to get
Eddie
really
is
pumped
rapidly
up
becoming the
inspired
butt
for
of
Right,
every joke.
exactly. That means he's next to leave.
Holy cow.
Show my karaoke photos.
There's always one person in every company
Yeah, right.
that is the butt of the
Exactly,
jokes.
right.
And I think we know who it is at Apple.
Oh, that is the
Okay, so it's
master
doing
at
show me
work.
karaoke photos. I wonder where it's getting that information
all-
from.
I
Is
love
it,
this.
am I
This is a-
required to tag them myself?
That's
Or to
interesting.
identify
I
them as
certainly
karaoke?
can't recognize karaoke.
This is totally dope.
It's the same things for like San Francisco
Great stuff.
photos.
Well,
Do I
could
have
really
to
look at these just
geotag everything?
all day, But you know, actually, my
This is a
assistant has
direct
given me
response to
a
Google
reminder
Photos.
Yes.
based on traffic conditions that it's time to leave. So I'm going to wrap up this demo of intelligence in iOS 9.
That's impressive. I mean, if you can tie it all together, and you can do it without sharing those files to the world.
You know, we've been able to bring intelligence throughout the experience in iOS 9.
Apple's in the
But we
hardware
do it
business,
in a
not
way
the
that does
advertising
not
business. So I think people would trust them
your
more.
privacy.
There
We
you
don't
go.
mind
Privacy.
your email,
There you go.
your photos, or your contacts
Here's a
in the
response.
cloud to learn things about you. We honestly just don't want to know. All of this is done on device, and it stays on device, under your control.
That's impressive. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Google's using lots of server power to do the Google Photos stuff.
Yeah.
And if we do have to perform a lookup on your behalf, for instance, for current traffic conditions, it's anonymous. It's not associated with your Apple ID. It's not linked to other Apple services, and it's not shared with third parties. Why would you do that? You
I think it
are
was a
in
Pew
control.
study said that
That is
people
intelligence.
want this kind of privacy, but they've resigned themselves to the thought that they're never going to get it in the modern world.
Exactly.
But they do want it. It is a selling point.
Unfortunately, a lot of people just don't understand what are the repercussions for giving up your privacy or what the technology is behind it.
Right.
Here comes woman number one.
Vice President of Apple Pay.
Yep, she was hired a year ago.
That was
Got the
Georgia
balloons.
blowing.
Women! Wait, I have to light up my little sparkler here. I'll just use the balloons. I'll use bubbles.
VP of Apple Pay Business, Jennifer Bailey.
Love it.
Mentioning Apple Pay reminds me that this broadcast is brought to you by our friends at Braintree Payments, the easiest way to include Apple Pay and everything else, including Bitcoin, into your mobile app. The Braintree V.0 SDK will give you one simple integration that your customers get every way to pay. Go to BraintreePayments.com/twit and get your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free. BraintreePayments.com/twit.
Of the biggest and best merchants supporting Apple Pay since our launch in
I did that
October.
ad then because I figure you know
And for you
this.
basketball fans, if you're lucky enough to have finals tickets,
I'm just waiting to hear
you'll
if
be
it
able
comes
to
to
pay for all
Canada.
your team logo wear at
I think
both
I think they said it's going to
Yeah, it's coming to...
come soon to Canada. Did they not?
It's definitely coming to the UK. They're going to announce that it's coming to the UK.
I think UK and Canada.
And Canada, yes, you're right. UK and Canada is the rumors.
to enable millions of small businesses to
Where you
accept
can buy
Apple Pay.
poutine.
This fall,
Square, which is a kind of a competitor to Apple Pay, is now supporting Apple Pay.
Huh.
And these will be
That's
available in
interesting.
our Apple retail stores
Well, you know,
starting this fall.
all the Square retail situations are an iPad, so it's like...
Yeah, and they
it's
used to
good
have
that
the
they're
swipe. They had to replace the swipe with Tap to Pay. So Square Tap to Pay, now Apple Pay. That's good. And this is all part of the transition in the United States away from swipe and sign
And
to
thanks
chip
to our
and pay.
amazing developers, we have great momentum within apps
This
as
is
well.
Jennifer Bailey, Vice President.
Square is going to launch a new reader that will do Tap to
Our
Pay.
developers are telling us they're seeing more
Using
than
Apple Pay.
2 times increase
Virtual with
in
Android
checkout
Pay as
rates.
well.
And
You know,
we're
it's the
adding
same
new
standard.
apps with
It's,
Apple
yeah,
Pay to the
you'd
App
have to
Store every day.
artificially
Here are
prevent
some
that
of
from
the
happening.
latest, representing a great
So I'm wondering
range
if they
of
artificially
categories.
prevent
Maybe they
it.
will.
Delta in
Well,
travel
she started
to
out as a
Etsy,
software
leading
engineer,
crafts marketplace.
interestingly enough,
These
at
apps join
ATP
an
Boston in the
incredible
80s.
group that are redefining
Quickly went into
new
marketing
and
and
simpler ways
then
to pay.
various leadership roles.
We're also excited to be working with Pinterest. Later this month, Pinterest will launch Bible Pins, where you'll be able to buy items from thousands
Bible
of
pins.
stores.
That's what I thought she
Bible
said.
pins.
Buyable
Right
pins.
from within the Pinterest app, using Apple Pay, and only on iOS.
And now we have a circle with the American flag in it.
That's a good thing.
With the great momentum of Apple Pay
Here-
in the
here
US,
comes the
we
maple
are now
leaf.
excited to announce that
Waiting.
we're bringing Apple Pay to the UK.
Okay. Union Jack. And here comes the maple leaf.
It's the same queen.
And it's coming next month.
Georgia, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I think they...
it's the Canadian government. We're so difficult.
They'll announce Canada. They just wanted to roll out the logos for the UK.
Right.
Lloyd's Bank, etc.
The Royal Bank of Scotland. It's great.
Great merchants are also
I
lining up
want
to
to
support
bank with the
Apple
Royal
Pay,
Bank of
like
Scotland.
Boots,
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
I am gonna. I'm gonna.
You could do your banking with the little purse that comes with the kilt.
My sporting.
We will have over 250,000
That has a name, huh?
I think
locations
so.
with Apple Pay in the UK. That's more than we started with in the US at our initial launch.
250,000 UK merchant locations.
We are also thrilled that our
can also ride the
customers
bus,
will be able to
including
commute and pay for
bus.
their fares on
That's
the London
very helpful.
transportation system.
Would be
with
really great.
Apple Pay.
I agree.
Yeah.
Imagine
Well,
you're getting on the
looking for
bus and you
change?
just tap your watch
Yeah.
to that. Ah, that's
Exactly.
awesome. Yeah. The Oyster card does that. They've had. I hate to say this. They've had tap to pay for some
Yes.
time,
Now
but
let's talk about some of the
Oh,
you
no
had to buy an
Canada.
Oyster card. No Canada.
First,
Oh,
you'll be able to add your
Canada.
store
Oh,
You'll
that's
really
never
good.
get the pay.
Adding
And
store,
we're
store
all
loyalty
hooked up.
cards.
We're
to
all
the
hooked
program.
up with NSF
and
already
leading
everywhere.
retailers
Yeah, it'd
So
be easy.
it would be
JCPenney,
very easy if our
and
So
government.
do you
would
think it's
just be a
government? You
little
think
bit
it's the
less-
Canadian
Yeah,
regulations?
we
that
have
prevent it?
we have really tight controls on our banking systems, which is good, but no Apple Pay.
Yeah.
Walgreens, their
Kohl's and
Balance
Walgreens rewards
For you
cards.
coffee and donut lovers, Dunkin' Donuts will bring Apple Pay.
Pandering to the police community.
Dunkin' Donuts. No, you know what's interesting though? Apple Pay doesn't give them personal information about you, right? But these
That's
loyalty
right.
cards are really all about getting personal information. So I'm
That's
curious.
But that's your choice as a consumer.
Right.
Like I would like to get a free burrito for every 10 burritos that I
Right.
Pay and the new
Or-
types of cards, we've decided it's
And if
time
I don't
to
like it, I
rename
just have the option of
Passbook
not using it.
to Wallet.
Interesting if there has to be like an actual language that they have to agree to in order to participate in that program.
All right.
One place for all your credit and debit cards.
So this is a
loyalty
new
cards, boarding
app.
passes, and
Or they're just
more.
renaming Apple
We
Pay to
told
Wallet.
you last year that our ultimate
Now
goal
that
was to
Google's not
replace the
using
wallet,
Wallet
and we are
anymore,
well on our way
Google
to
changed to
doing
Android
just
Pay. Apple's
that.
saying,
We
"Yeah,
couldn't be
okay."
happier with
Well,
They
it's
fell
easier.
for it.
I'll take it.
and with the
Holy
momentum
cow.
of Apple Pay. Thank
They
you.
renamed Passbook to Wallet.
I like that actually.
Cow.
It makes more sense to me.
It does. I never really understood, but wow.
So that's Apple Pay. Let's turn now
Also
to
holds
our
your old
enhancements
receipts,
to the apps you use most.
your skate key.
And we're going to start with Notes. Notes is
Notes.
used regularly by
Oh.
about half of our users on iPhone. And for iOS 9, we have some really great enhancements. It starts with how you work with simple text. So now,
I
Notes
love that. I
provides
use
a
notes
really
all the
handy
time.
You
I think I'm
do.
one of the few people that actually
Yeah,
uses
you
notes
are.
all the
For instance, to
time.
create
Just
titles,
easy.
heading styles,
All right, so some
number
formatting.
lists.
Huh.
They're going to slowly make notes
We all
into
like to
OneNote
create
or
checklists
Evernote.
in our
This
notes.
is how
So notes
Microsoft
Checklist.
ruined
really
Notepad.
easy.
Exactly.
Of course, you can
Started-
check off
Yeah.
your items
Well,
with
you have to be
just a
careful.
tap.
OneNote became so
Because a picture's worth
overblown
1,000 words,
with all these
we make
features that it really
easy to get
became
at your camera
too much.
and
You
your
want to keep it
camera roll
lightweight.
and
Yeah.
put photos directly in your notes.
They're using
The
the San
problem
Francisco
again
font.
here
We're
is
also
it's not
providing a great new way to
cross-platform. This
capture your
this
ideas.
is exactly what we were
By
just
just
talking about.
drawing
Where,
with
yeah,
your
it's
finger.
better, and now you're
Provide some
really
great
locked into the
drawing
Apple
tools.
ecosystem.
Yeah, let's
Sketches,
really give
easy
people a good
tools,
reason to
drop
use
them
these
right inside your
Apple-only
Yeah.
products.
These are much needed enhancements.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you're like me, but a lot of times
Again,
the
a
things I
little
wanna
bit
put on my
scary
notes are
that
things
they're
I'm looking at
kind
and
of
find in other
enticing people
apps.
to do
For
lock-in
instance,
now.
a web page in
I
Safari.
feel the same way about Microsoft's
now,
products and
from the
Yeah.
share
everything
sheet,
else.
you can
I
just with a
can't
tap,
blame them.
add a link.
Oh, not
good
at all.
business.
It makes
Into your
sense.
notes.
And
It's
also
not
they can
good for
deliver
consumers.
features to
Really
consumers
easy
that way.
to
But
find your notes.
But you know,
It's-
We organize them by time, of course.
Yeah, it's very
and now we have these great
Machiavellian,
thumbnails
smart,
that let you see
but
your
Yeah.
in the end, I think that
images
they'll
at a
also
glance.
have then an opening for
also
people that
provide
will
this
have
cool
something that
new
will be
attachments view
cross-platform because
that
people
shows
want to
you
use
all
whatever
of
they're
your
comfortable with.
photos,
yeah, and
maps
that
links, your
affects
website
whatever they do in
links,
music
and
too.
you
Because do you want to
Right.
spend
Right back
2 years
to the
developing
note where they
playlists that
came
you
from.
then can never
Now,
use
Notes
with
is
any
great
other music
on
player?
iPhone,
Right.
Given
It's a
that your
lot of
music
fun.
player might be on a
and of
server,
course
it might be
Mac
on
as
an
well.
AV receiver.
All of your content
Excuse me,
is
my
now
watch has told me I need to
across
stand.
all
I'll
of
be
your
right back.
devices via iCloud.
You can just wave your arm around, Leo. That's what I do. I just wave my arm around. It
You
thinks
cheat
that I'm
your
walking
watch?
all the time. It's
You
just
should just
taught me
put
to
your
cheat
watch
better.
around Ozzy's neck and let him walk
Right.
around.
Let's turn
Right.
to maps.
Spin it around a few
We
times.
continued to invest
Oh, here we go. The-
Leo, are you really standing up?
Here we go. Yeah.
If my watch told me.
She's standing up.
If you don't do it, something horrible will happen.
usage on
I think.
iOS is
It cuts the blood circulation off on your wrist. It squeezes your wrist. Right now,
Yeah.
It's-
See,
The taptic
wish they'd
engine
stop using
tases
these.
you, and that makes you exercise more. That would work. If it tased me, I
There
would
is a
exercise
watch that
more
does
often.
that.
emphasize things things like
To hear the big
free
maps
walking roads.
updates.
But we know for a lot of
Yeah.
our iOS users,
I'm too
they're
oppositional
they're
to use the
mostly
activity
focused on public transit. And so now
Yep,
we've
here are the
created a
public
great
transit,
app
rumored
just
public
for
transit
them.
features.
Yes, it's transit. With transit, we provide a map that emphasizes all of the different transit lines, buses and trains, subway stations, and so forth. And when you tap on a station, you get to see all the lines that run through it with their departure times. And we do multimodal routing.
Rolling it out in the U.S. and
Whether
China,
you're taking a
interestingly.
train, a subway, a bus, or a ferry. And we provide step-by-step directions, including time for walking directions. But we've taken special care to get the details right, the ones that matter with transit. For instance,
That looks
you take
awfully
a
like Google
subway
Maps.
station, like this one in Columbus Circle in New York. It's not just a point on a map. If you look closer, it's actually an enormous underground structure spanning many city blocks. And so we carefully surveyed all of the entrances and exits so that we could give you walking directions based on the time to travel from where you actually are. Now, this not only saves you a ton of walking, but also
this is what you don't see at every single mapping service. Here, Maps, matter of fact, every time there's a hospital, they have to send somebody to the hospital to make sure it's a hospital, and then map, here is the emergency exit for everyone, and that's boots on the ground stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no robotics that can do that for you and do it accurately.
To ask Siri for directions. And we're going to be rolling maps out, transit, starting with these cities across the world, and with these and 300 more in China.
No love for Boston. That's fine.
It's okay. There's no love for Canada. I'm just always, always waiting.
We have our own folk song about our public transit system, but that's okay. It's not a big college town.
Nearby with just a tap. And when you find a location you're interested in,
he's the man who'll never return.
right there in the bottom.
Well, no transit to Boston. I wouldn't worry about it.
Your watch said you could sit down again?
Yeah. Actually, I just interpret that as go pee.
iPhone and iPad.
Hey.
And of course,
When you get to be my age, once an hour, it's not too much.
and that is Maps.
Nice little touch. Shows you, not only does it show you restaurants and stores, but also notice that, oh, by the way, this place does take Apple Pay.
I don't buy Nokia here. Buy here. And you could just so much, you could leapfrog everybody.
Yeah.
To living on a mobile device. And there's
It's
been
for sale.
one that we've been wanting to do for years, something that so many of us find ourselves wanting to do every day on our device.
What's that?
And so today, I'm pleased to announce that we're introducing a new application, and it's called
Somebody at my front door.
News.
News.
News is beautiful content.
You know, he
from the
misspoke
world's
earlier.
greatest sources.
Really?
Said news instead of notes. People
Personalized
caught it
for
on
you.
Twitter,
Now,
and we're
here's an
wondering.
article in News.
This is
It's absolutely
Google.
stunning.
Google News or
Publishers
Flipboard?
can
It's
easily
Flipboard.
create
This
beautiful
is
content.
Flipboard, yeah.
Well, but also a
gorgeous
response to
imagery,
Facebook's.
custom
yeah.
layout, and
It is
Custom
such a portal for,
photography.
it's,
Peter
But
Kaufman
News is also
broke the story
interactive.
this morning about
And so
this.
to give you a look at news in action, I'd like to
about 2
invite to
hours
the
ago.
stage our Vice President of
Woman number
Application,
2.
Product Management.
It's gotta be a woman.
Susan Prescott.
They are digging deep.
Yep.
How recently was she promoted is my
Now,
question.
interestingly, neither of these women have Wikipedia entries.
Uh-huh.
So people get on that.
There goes Georgia down.
Really excited to be
I'm gonna
the
get a
first
sparkler.
person to show
Angela
you
Aarons
our
gets
new
in. I'm
news
going to
app
light the sparkler
right
and
here in
maybe
the home screen.
set my whole house on
First thing
fire.
News wants
She's
to do
worth
is
it.
get a
Good for
sense of
Apple,
what I
though.
like. So it's going to give me a short list
that's-
of really great
that's really great.
choices to choose from. And you'll see as I tap, additional recommendations come in on the bottom
this is
to give you even more
just
choices.
like the
So I
launch
read
of
Atlantic,
and
Wired,
others.
New York Times, and ESPN. I'm still with you, Warriors.
Google's on its third or fourth
Yeah.
iteration of
Daring
this kind of
Fireball,
program.
All
topics,
failed.
too, like
Yeah.
science,
Flipboard,
baking,
though. Yeah. Yes.
and travel.
Right? Remember that?
Yep.
Going.
They
Is
have
that
now
still
newsstands.
exists?
So I'll tap
Current?
I
done.
think you can download it. It's not.
News creates a personalized
This is good looking,
feed
though. I
called
think.
for you.
It's nice.
It's based on the choices
I would think about
just
using
made,
it.
The
and
question
all
is,
my news
are they going to do
in
what
one place.
Facebook did, which is
You
approach
can see
publishers and say, we have
it
a
looks
custom
great.
platform for you?
It's
Yeah.
easy to
They could
scan,
do that.
Yep.
and it updates every time I check news.
That looks nice.
The articles can come
It's
from
not something
anywhere, but the best
you were
ones are
missing
built
on the
in our
iPhone.
new
That's the
No.
interesting
Apple
thing.
News
No.
format.
No,
But I want-
but
I-
I
I
think
wanna
that would
see-
save you in having to search through different things and choose, and it looks
Look at the
really,
rich
really beautiful.
typography.
It's a weird message for
Beautiful
developers, though. Hey,
images.
developers,
And my
one by
favorite part
one, we're going
are the
through
really
every
fun
category of
Yeah.
apps that you create, and we're replacing your apps with ours.
They've been smart.
and I also really
Sure
want to know how hard will it be for the Sun Times, for instance, to get a tile on that list?
Yeah.
Do I have to strike a deal? Are they going to ignore outlets that don't have a certain kind of international reach? This could be it looks like a nice app, but this could be very problematic.
Yeah.
I also wonder if I have subscriptions to the New York Times, will it automatically honor that and show me access that I wouldn't have if I were just a general user?
What's interesting is that looks like a Quartz article. The New York Times article looked like a Quartz article.
Yeah.
So
I thought I saw the Times signature font there.
Yeah. And that's Quartz, right?
Yeah, and also similar to what Facebook has with its instant.
Harry McCracken is tweeting that Apple will host your content as well.
The interesting thing is you're not going to get all from the advertising.
Right.
I see no ads on the page.
And that was the challenge Facebook faced, was that you know, Facebook will now control the interaction with your users, your readers.
Right.
But Jeff Jarvis, our journalism guru, said you should do it. You got to be where the viewers are, the readers are.
But then how do you monetize?
Oh, monety schmonety.
Recent report said millennials get most of their news from Facebook, and boomers get most of their news from TV. And you think, oh, those millennials are a bunch of airheads. But no, wait, no, they're reading articles from the New York Times instead of watching TV. It's way better.
Who's smarter there?
Exactly.
There are also Gen Xers between those two, I should point out.
Yes, we Gen Xers.
And what do you Gen Xers do? As a boomer, I don't watch TV.
Yeah,
TV news is the worst.
It is the worst.
We mostly complain about how Facebook and TV news are both lame.
Exactly. That's what we do.
You're in the middle. Well, that's what Apple's news is for. Actually, this looks gorgeous. Actually, it looks better than Flipboard, to be honest.
It does. And not surprising. Apple's so good at this kind of thing.
Flipboard really doesn't make it anymore.
No.
I have to say.
No.
Yeah. It's slow. It's buggy. And yet, it's so easy to create an app like this that no one uses. You know, it's just it's an icon on your screen. I have a folder on my iPhone called Apple that I put all the stuff I don't use from Apple.
Yeah.
And this, could very well end up there.
That's a purgatory of sorts. Yeah, Flipboard was way ahead when it first came out with its user interface, the tile flipping, and all that kind of stuff. And then everybody's caught up to that. And so now it's just, what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how is it going to curate? That would be my issue with it. If it's not going to be the type of stories that I'm interested in, and I'm still going to.
Well, she's addressing that now. She's saying there's a
powerful machine learning algorithm.
Yeah.
So let's take a look.
So welcome to the new iFilter bubble.
Favorites is where I can see everything I'm following, including Swift.
Ooh, nice.
The more you read, the better news is at showing stories you care about most.
Or if I want to read
It always scares me.
or a magazine.
A little creepy.
Let's say today I want to read Wired.
Yeah, I wonder if their algorithm favors pro-Apple journalism.
Logo at the top.
I doubt they get
Wired
involved
channel
in that.
starting with top
You
stories.
still don't want to let your news be selected by a company.
Exactly.
A company that is not in the news business.
I mean, Apple clearly does manipulate the press and access and all the rest to get more favorable.
They would do it with
journalism.
if they did it all, they do it with a light hand. But you just
There's a hell of a firewall between PR being PR and controlling the news that people see. They would never touch that third rail. They're very, very good in that.
I don't know. I mean, that's just a question of trust, Andy. The algorithms like this will never be accessible to the press, the public, or anyone. So we have to. So what you're saying is you trust Apple to not do that. There's no evidence that they won't do that.
I'm saying that having observed Apple and other companies for the past 20 to 25 years, it would be a signature shift for Apple for them to control content in that way.
Would you get your news from Walmart? Would you get your news from Bechtel? Would you get your news from U.S. Steel? Right. It just.
But it wouldn't be called that, right? Like everyone that buys.
Well, Apple's calling it news.
Well, definitely. But I think that like Apple's lucky in that if they make great products, they really don't have to worry about controlling the media of what people will be saying about them.
Oh, but they do.
So news is
people buy out.
There's no doubt they do that.
Just about any other news
They're very
outlet
adept at doing that.
So news is available in the U.S., U.K., and Australia. Initially, sorry, Canada.
Sorry, Georgia.
I mean, we gave you poutine. You should be happy with that.
I know that's why you had it on, just to watch my reaction every time something new and cool comes out.
That's why they did poutine.
It was a bone that they're throwing.
So they are making deals with content providers.
Yeah, apparently so.
Every single bullet point was, hey, we know that there are other news apps out there, but we will be absolutely private for you.
And incidentally, now we know why we saw a lot of Wired.
Yep.
And they'll be joined by many, many others. Read by
Well, all those nice
millions
things
of
I said about
users
using it,
daily.
forget about it now.
But now, news isn't just for the media type.
I hope somebody screen grabbed that. Was Mashable on there? Was, I mean, you know, what was TechCrunch on there? Was,
whether
you know,
it's a local newspaper, a blog, or a special.
I bet 9 to 5 Mac wasn't on there, which leaked all of this
bet you
information.
anything, Mark Gurman is not in the news app.
Starting in the United States, the UK, and Australia. We think you're really going to like it.
That's a Steve Jobs line.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not easy to break someone's habits. If they're getting their news from a certain place, you can't get them onto a new app very easily.
Yeah.
Well, and you may say, oh, look, with Apple's news, you're in control. But are you really in control, or is Apple in control?
Right.
No, and I'm not going to open up an application that has a set of my news, and then I have to go to websites and do it at the same time. It no longer saves me time.
The Verge was on, by the way, that list. Somebody's telling me. Here it is. Here it is.
Now, it
The
starts with
Economist,
something
Politico,
really simple,
Vanity Fair, The
which is
Telegraph.
how you work with text.
It's all big media
That
brands.
brings us to the QuickType keyboard. Now, in iOS 8, we introduced the
BuzzFeed,
suggestion bar that
Vox,
makes it quicker than
including
ever
The Verge,
to type and enter what you're
Vulture,
trying to get in. But now,
Ars Technica.
in iOS 9, we've
Oh, they
added
mentioned Vox and The
shortcuts to
Verge.
that bar. So with just a tap, you can cut, copy, paste, format your text.
And Quartz, but it's
access your
mostly
attachments.
mainstream
It's
media.
really handy. But, you know, what makes
It says if you have your own blog or
multi-touch
website, you can
keyboard so
publish
special
content to
is
news.
that it can be anything
So there
you
will be
want. It
some,
can transform.
probably not RSS.
And so now, when you want to move the cursor or make a selection, you can now just put two fingers
video.
down
I'd love to put
on the
some video
keyboard,
in their news.
and it becomes a trackpad instantly.
Yeah, what's wrong with video? We're crying out loud.
So this is the improved keyboard in iOS.
You can move the cursor. You
Look
can
at that, lowercase letters. Do I see lowercase letters?
shortcut bar to
Are they
cut,
going to finally
drag
do
to a
that?
new place and paste,
So
editing
innovative.
more quickly than ever before, and without your fingers ever leaving the
How
home
long
row.
has that taken?
Really great.
8 long years of suffering, and finally.
Right. As Jason mentioned, they're not even mentioning it.
Occasionally want to hook a physical keyboard
The
to your
trackpad's
iPad as well?
interesting.
here we go.
Do that better than ever. We provide a way to discover all of the shortcuts that can accelerate
Andy
your
likes Bluetooth
operations and the
keyboards with his
applications
iPad.
on
Yes.
the keyboard.
Huge. It's a signature
And we
shortcoming of the
provided
iPad.
shortcuts for app switching. This might look familiar to some of you.
Ah,
There you go.
Alt tab.
In Spotlight. So that's QuickType.
Whatever it is in there.
But now I want to turn to the big one, and that's
This is
multitasking.
the multi-window interface we've been expecting.
Yep.
Keyboard
First big
becomes a
launch is
trackpad. That's very interesting.
First
has
long
always
applause break.
supported
Break.
forms of multitasking, like this great
Cue the
graphical
sarcasm
task
by
switcher,
Android fans.
and these nice 4-finger gestures that let you move between applications. But for iOS 9, we're taking it to a whole new place, and I'd like to show that to you now.
The whole new place is to the right
Over
of the
here.
stage, the left of the stage. Yes.
So let's start here on my iPad.
No water bottle.
And what I'm
though.
going to do first is
where'd
double
that
tap
go?
on the home button, and you'll see our new task switcher.
So they've replaced the
really
old
gorgeous.
task switcher with a new one, but it's the same double
full
tap.
screen previews of all
That's
the
interesting.
apps.
See the
Yeah.
Just move right into Safari like this. But of course, often when I'm in an
That's
app
not
like
much
Safari,
change,
then I just
yeah.
want to quickly check my
Cosmetically.
messages. So now, with just a single finger swipe from the side, I can slide it right in with what we call slide over. And of course, it's fully interactive right here. I can take
what
a look,
Microsoft calls
maybe
the
type a
charms
response,
bar.
just like that, back in Safari.
Slide
Do that
over.
again. Now from the top,
This is why
I can
when you're
pull
watching
down
other companies' keynotes, you don't talk about
bring in other
how badly
applications.
Microsoft
Let's bring in Calendar. Of course, fully
and Google
interactive,
have
so
ripped
I can
off
tap
Apple
into
because
another day.
there's a keynote coming in a
another
couple of
app.
weeks. You'll see some familiar things in that one
Bring in
too.
the new Notes app.
Yeah, they couldn't
Oh,
use.
this is very interesting.
sometimes, of
This is
course, I
actually a
wanna
better
stay
way of
working
solving
in
it than
Notes and
Samsung
Safari, both at the
does
same
with its
time.
multi-window.
So I can just tap here on the
They
divider.
had to use the Brenning slide over because
now I'm
slider was
split
taken
view.
by a sandwich.
They're both completely active. In fact, for the first time ever, multi-app, multi-touch. I can move them both at the same time.
Oh, that's nice. I don't think that I'd have the ambidexterity to do that.
Wow.
But I like it.
And why would you even?
Now, Notes is actually pinned to the side
Just because
now,
you
so I want to
can.
show you what happens when I switch
You wanna
apps. I'm just going
scroll
to move
both?
over
Yeah.
here to Photos, and you notice now I have Photos with Notes on the side. This is really great if I'm taking notes while working across a bunch of different experiences. And of course, those 4-finger gestures continue to work great, so I can just swipe my way right back into Safari like that. I
This
can
is,
follow links, of course, for my
particular
notes. So let me just
importance
tap
if you
on
were
this
to
link,
release, let's
and you see
say, a
Safari
12.9-inch
loads it right here on
iPad.
the
Yes,
side.
for example.
That would
For
be
example,
wonderful.
split, so let me
Perhaps.
just move that over to
Hypothetically.
a nice
I don't think on a Mini
Notes and
this is
Safari.
going to be very useful.
I can tap on links to other apps. So let's follow a
I
link
think
to
for
Maps.
corporate, this is huge
Is
to
it?
be able to have both screens open. Whenever I do work and I need to have a file on one side and my Excel sheet on the other, there's just no way I would ever be able to do that on my iPad, though I would rather have it at work.
And writers. I mean, I think we all, probably most of us, write on iPads, but then we're sort of swapping between our research and
remember. Not just that, but remember that Apple does not have a good $500, $600 computer, whereas there are really good $500, $600 Windows tablets that do all of this. And so this is a way to make the 9.7-inch Air and whatever comes up next still competitive.
Is this going to be a significant change to the way Apple does multitasking?
I
think it has to be, right? These aren't backgrounded apps. These are two foregrounded apps.
Yep.
By the way, caps lock! Thank God it's got lowercase and uppercase. Hallelujah. I'm sorry, but that was just ridiculous.
You can make bigger moves too. Go to the top here.
Meanwhile, Google still does not have a multi-window interface on Android. Samsung does it, but not Google.
Checklist like this, and check them off.
Many multi-touch gestures for operating the keyboard now.
Yeah, it looks like
keyboard got a lot of love in this.
A lot of love, and deserved it, needed it, frankly.
I'm stressing about having to learn all those multitask gestures.
Yeah, they are pushing the envelope in terms of forcing people to learn stuff. It's a lot to learn.
I can only do a couple at a time.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I don't update. I take a while.
I'm going to play right here.
So he's going to watch ESPN
When I'm watching a video
and
I may
have
decide
Twitter
I wanna
running?
look
That would
something
be
up or
very...
check something,
I'd do
maybe
Yes,
that. I would
yeah.
do that all the time.
notification.
Lean
I
back.
want you to watch what happens when I tap. Watch the video.
The Oscars.
Oh,
There we go.
Picture in picture.
And you can move it around.
This
So.
is actually something the YouTube app's done, but that is great.
Yeah, that's great for TWiT.
Listen.
For us,
Yeah.
they could have us...
I can watch my video. I can, of course, resize the pip if I want.
Oh, that's
Like
great.
this.
Picture in picture on the iPad.
I can move it around the screen.
That's pretty
so it's out of the way
impressive.
of what I'm
Steve Jobs
working
have
on.
allowed that? No. It doesn't look very Jobsian, does
Off
it?
the side. Sometimes I
It
just
does
wanna
show that
listen
there's
for
quite a
while
bit of
while I
hardware
work.
reserve
And
in
of
the
course, it stays
iPad
with me wherever I
operating
go.
system, because
I
that's
can pull it
tough
back,
to
and then when
do.
I'm done,
The Air 2 always looked like it was suspiciously overpowered for what it was doing at the end of last year.
Yeah. This is the answer to that question. Why? Why so much power?
I wonder what that notification was that we saw for a fraction of a second.
You see, I have a graveyard of iPads all dead because I haven't been using them because I use my Air or my watch. This, I think I'm going to be booting up all my chargers.
Steven Sinofsky, former head of Windows 8 at Microsoft, says, I'm really enjoying the updates to iOS for the iPad. Can't tell if that's sarcastic or real.
To let your apps work this way. And the good news is that you've already done most of that work. Because if you've adopted
Multi-window will be in Android
size
M.
classes to work great on the iPhone
But
6
it's
and
not
6
yet in
Plus,
Android.
well, that carries over just like this onto iPad.
I do feel like that makes the iPad so much more useful.
Minutes. It was really incredible.
I've been excited about a larger iPad
Now,
anyway,
slide over
especially
to
one that had
the
Force
iPad
Touch,
Air,
Me too.
Air
pressure
2,
sensitive.
Mini
When you're looking
2,
at what
and
you
Mini
want in
3,
an ultra
edges,
portable,
picture in
you
picture.
don't want the
And our
entire
most
Mac OS. You don't want the whole
powerful
Windows. You
split
just
view
want the
available
ability to get
Some
an
things.
afternoon's work done.
Yeah.
And this is a huge step for that. Not just that, but also the new keyboard support.
This is also a huge step toward the inevitable future where OS X is replaced on the desktop by iOS.
I know what you're saying, but I hope not.
I mean, it keeps getting more sophisticated. It'll be the desktop car as opposed to the truck. I think OS X will exist as a truck for the heavy hitters.
Now, was the split view only going to be on the iPad Air 2?
He showed that slide that showed which machines it was compatible with. Let me just refer back and see.
1.6 times improvements in animations and scrolling, and a 50% reduction in CPU usage.
It's a significant change to the UI of the iPad.
Now, with battery life, we focused on real-world use cases.
It didn't look like iPad 1 or 2 would be compatible. It looked like you needed an Air 2. Did he say Air as well? Air and up. Air and up is what they're saying. Thank you, Chad.
Now, we know that for a lot of you, if you're running low on power,
is
you start searching all over for switches and turning off features in the hope of extending your battery life a little bit further. Well, now, in iOS 9, we give you a single switch to enter what we call low power mode. And it pulls levers that you didn't even know existed and is able to extend battery life for an additional 3
Lots of phones have had
of
this
typical
for
use
some
on
time.
top of that additional hour.
Yeah, but other phones
Really great.
desperately needed it.
Yeah, that's true. And the iPhone
This
typically
is
doesn't.
already a world-class power management
Yeah, you're
system.
right.
And now we're giving you an extra.
Now with security, We want to protect our users' data on device and in the cloud.
This is the new
And so we're
rootless.
bringing two-factor authentication and making it easy for everyone to protect their data in iCloud. And with software update, we want everyone to get to iOS 9. And so we've done major enhancements to the architecture for our over-the-air updates, and we've been able to reduce the amount of free space you need.
This was
to
a
get to
major
iOS
problem
9
for people with 8
from the
gigabyte
4.6 gigs that it took to get to iOS 8
Yeah.
down to just 1.3.
There were iPhones that
So
couldn't
we think
update.
everyone's going to be
A
getting
problem
to iOS
Google partially solved by offering to erase all of your photos that it has backed up on the Google's cloud.
Let's start over.
So iOS 9, intelligence throughout the system.
You're watching live coverage of WWDC 2015. If you're tuning in for triangulation, it will be later today after iOS Today, which will immediately follow this broadcast. Craig Federighi on stage. He's been there for some time talking about updates in OS 10 and iOS.
Now, iOS 9 is a great release for our users, but once
He's great
again,
on stage.
He's done a
so
great
relaxed.
job. Yeah.
for all of you developers.
By the way, tucked.
Bringing a
Tucked.
ton of new
Tucked.
features. You saw search extensibility.
So
We're
2
adding
women, 2
UI
tucked.
testing
Who's
to
keeping
Xcode.
score?
I don't think we've seen any untucked, have we?
Yes. We have a new
I
technology
think
called
Tim Cook is
App
always untucked. He's
which
notoriously
optimizes your
untucked.
downloads to exactly the subset of resources needed for that
App
user's
thinning.
device.
I don't know what it is,
So
but
you're
I
able to
want it.
take less space on device. It's a really
Swift
great.
2 is a big
Now, when it comes
change, a
to
big update
gaming,
to Swift,
we've
the
enhanced
Apple
Sprite Kit, Scene
programming
Kit, and
language.
Metal, and introduced 3 new frameworks. Gameplay Kit to bring artificial intelligence with obstacle avoidance and pathfinding. Model I/O to provide beautiful lighting on your 3D models.
Interesting.
And Replay Kit. It lets you
The
enhance
pathing will
your
be great for
applications so that
playing
users
multiplayer
record their
kind of games where you have
gameplay
to
as
control
video
many
and
things.
share it.
Very annoying.
It's really great. Now, Health Kit has been on fire. And so we've continued, well, we added water, actually, to Health Kit. We're not trying to put out the fire. Health Kit, we're adding lots of additional health metrics to be tracked. For instance, hydration, UV exposure, and reproductive health. Now, HomeKit has been taking off.
Here we go, HomeKit.
Manufacturers introducing HomeKit peripherals to the market
Virtual
now in
rooms.
areas
There's a
like
rumored app called
thermometers,
Home. Don't know if they're going to announce
and
it.
lights. And now, in iOS 9, we're adding support for window shades, sensors of all kinds. For instance, carbon monoxide sensors, motion sensors, and we're adding support for security systems as well. But perhaps most importantly, we're allowing you to access your home remotely and securely via iCloud. So no matter where you are, you can control all of your HomeKit devices.
That makes sense. So they're taking a lot of stuff off the shoulders of the developers there.
Next, CarPlay. So CarPlay
That was
supports
faster than I thought.
audio apps.
Yeah, I
Wow.
thought they would have spent a little
No
bit more
mention
time
of
talking
Apple
about
TV.
it.
Right.
Apps by the automaker.
That's
You can
probably where the
control
Apple
things
TV
in your own
bit
car
was
without
supposed to be.
leaving
Yes.
the CarPlay
Yeah.
experience. And CarPlay
Wow.
supporting more kinds of screens, wider aspect
We'll see that
ratios,
later in the year,
high
maybe.
DPI.
Overcast in the
significantly,
list there.
CarPlay.
That's good.
We're pulling the cord.
Oh,
In
nice.
future cars,
Finally.
you'll be able to get in your car without taking your phone out of your
Bluetooth
bag or out of your
CarPlay,
pocket.
that's great.
And
Yeah.
start exceriencing CarPlay
That's going to be a challenge because you don't have the
effortlessly.
pipe,
It's gonna be really
big
great.
fat pipe that you have when it's tethered.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be some sacrifices.
Finally, let's talk about Swift.
Big success story.
Yeah.
You all know that the growth that Swift has been experiencing is just unprecedented, and we've all seen it with the flood of applications coming into the App Store. Well, now we're stepping on the gas this year with Swift 2. Now, Swift was designed from the beginning to be fast.
Remember,
and we
this is a
continue to
developer
roll out
conference,
targeted
so things like
optimizations all year long.
languages are
And now with
important
Swift 2,
to developers where they don't make much difference at all to end users.
especially great for complex applications and object-oriented
He's going to
programming.
announce right now that they're going to make it open source.
Optimization, and the results are
Cross-platform?
really fantastic.
That would be huge.
In addition, we're
I doubt
bringing
it.
the language features that you've asked for most, an elegant new error handling model, the ability to see your interfaces as synthesized headers in Xcode, and the feature that Tim has been begging for all year.
Tim really wants
protocol
Objective-C
extensions. You're all going to
generics.
love it.
Yeah.
Now, we think Swift
wonder if that's a joke
is
that
the
didn't
next
work.
big programming.
It's definitely a joke
the
that
one
didn't
that
work
we
because I
will
don't
all
think
be
Tim
doing
knows.
application and systems
I
programming
just think no reaction from the crowd.
for 20 years to come.
Tim likes protocol
And we think
extensions.
Swift
What?
should be everywhere and used by everyone.
Here it comes.
And so,
And so
we're going to be
here's
doing
Taylor
something
Swift.
really big.
No.
Today, we're announcing that Swift will be open source.
That is remarkable. That is really remarkable.
Yeah. Wow.
And bravo, Apple. That is absolutely the right thing to do.
Well, also it makes it more valuable to developers. You don't want to learn. You don't want to learn something
Absolutely.
that you can't elsewhere.
Yeah. Objective-C, I believe, is open source, but very few people use it off the Apple platform.
Big round of applause for that one.
Really increase adoption rate.
And the standard libraries for iOS, OS X, and Linux. And it'll all be out there by the end of the year. So that's Swift. And that is iOS 9.
Yeah, I think that's a very
We're doing a
important
developer
move.
beta, you guessed it, today. And for the first time for a major iOS release, a public beta. So sign up now at beta.apple.com, and you can get the beta when it comes out in
Objective-C,
July.
the predecessor
and
to
of
Swift,
course,
has always
we'll be
been
rolling it out as a
cross-platform.
free upgrade in the
Rarely
fall.
used anywhere
And
outside the Apple ecosystem. I expect the same with
iOS
Swift.
9 will support
Beta.apple.com
all of
is
the
down.
devices that were supported by iOS 8. We're not dropping any this year because we want everyone.
iOS 8 will
to
work
get
on
iOS
anything
9.
from an iPad 2 and up, from an
That's
iPhone
iOS
4
9. I really
and up.
appreciate your time. Have
I'm
a
glad to see the
fantastic
iPad 3 is supported. That's usually the lost sheep.
Cutoff, yeah.
Thanks, Craig. iOS just keeps
Yeah,
getting
Tim's
better
untucked, so.
and better for many hundreds of
He has
millions
one of the
of
shirts that's
users.
straight across, so
Right.
it still gives
takes
almost
it to an
exactly
even
the similar
greater
look,
level
but you
with
don't end up with the little...
incredible new
You know what
apps and
a shirt
intelligence
tails if you're not
right
going to
into
tuck, because that
iOS.
looks like you've
And as
That's
an
right.
avid iPad
Finished.
user,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm also incredibly excited about how far it extends the iPad experience as we continue to lead in the post-PC era. And with El Capitan, we've created a new version of OS X that dramatically
We're watching live coverage of
improves the
WWDC's
experience
keynote.
and the user
As we enter
experience
hour number 2 of the keynote, I want to remind you our TWiT Live special is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and you're looking for the right payments API, check out the Braintree V.0 SDK. Easy way to get Apple Pay, but also PayPal, Bitcoin, Venmo, and whatever else is next with a simple integration of just a few lines of code and a few minutes of your time. To learn more, and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to braintreepayments.com/twit.
That's interesting. That might be the first time in years they've used the words post-PC world in a keynote. Again, showing a lot of love for iPad.
But they invented the post-PC world, I have to say.
They know that the iPad needed a big kick in the pants because people have been looking at them saying, hey, I got a big phone. What do I need an iPad for? And this keynote says, here's what you need an iPad for.
You did a good job with that.
Launched only 7 years ago. It's hard to remember a day without it.
Here we go, App Store.
I'm happy to announce that the App Store recently passed a major milestone. The App Store has passed
He gets quiet when he gets
and
serious.
slow.
100 billion apps downloaded.
That's pretty remarkable.
The rate of growth and the momentum is absolutely staggering.
Surprised they didn't resurrect Carl
The industry
Sagan for
has
that
never
number.
seen anything like this before. The App Store has forever changed software and software distribution. And it's also been an economic boon. We've now paid out $30 billion to developers.
Mostly to the people not in this room.
Yeah.
The App Store continues to be the most profitable app marketplace on the planet. Now, we could not be
Interesting
more
language there.
proud.
Of course, we've made $30 billion in the time that I've been on the stage.
More and more, developers are transforming, empowering, and
Let's see if they
reimagining the
cut the
very
payout.
important things that we do in our daily lives. We've made a video
Cut Apple's share. That'd be a
about
big
your incredible impact and just how far you've come in such a short period of time. And I'd love to run it for you now.
So a new version of iOS 9 is expected coming in the fall, probably with new iPhones, but it will work on almost all the existing iPhones
8
down to the
years ago,
4 and
the
all
iPhone
existing
was launched.
iPads down to the
It
2.
didn't have an app store.
a new version of OS 10 as well, of Capitan. Public beta begins next month in July, but it will ship in the final version in the fall, September. Some significant new improvements in Spotlight. Siri seems to have gotten a real upgrade, but I think you can safely say that, as expected, iOS 9 and El Capitan are really more about performance improvements and stability than they are about big new features.
Which is good.
There are a lot of both of them have always had a huge advantages over competitors, but they've had deficiencies in a few signature spots. And this is a time to sort of lay back for a minute and say, here's what we need to fix if the iPad's going to be viable in 3 years from now. Here's what we're going to need to fix. Here's what's missing. Here's what people like about Android L, Android M, it wouldn't be M, but Android L that we want to patch up. If you're even comparing unfavorably in personal assistance to a Windows Phone, that means that you really need to work on that a little bit.
I think the biggest news for iOS 9 is the fact that Siri has made a huge leap in both the direction of Google Now and also of Cortana. And so taking some of the best benefits of each, and for example, from Google Now getting proactive notifications and also having better machine intelligence, and then the killer app for Apple's implementation is they do it without uploading personal data to the cloud or to their databases or whatever. It all takes place on the phone. I think that is a killer sales pitch right there for people who are not in the Apple fan community, but who are on the fence about and maybe feeling anxiety about having their privacy violated. Their message is, you can have it all, and you can have your privacy as well.
Which is brilliant from Apple, because that's what everyone's talking about, right? With the NSA and everything else, everyone's talking about privacy. So Apple's jumped. They were always at the forefront of making sure that everything that they had is secure, and you can get all of the great goodies that Google Now is giving you, but not have to give up your privacy. That's amazing.
Well, see, it's weird because I don't think people are as aware of it because that is a big highlight thing. Oh, I don't want to give Google my photos, my personal information. But part of the conversation is not, but you also need to run Ghostery on Safari, and you need to run through the fact that you've turned off Google doesn't mean that you're private. It means that the only people who are collecting your information are the worst people in the world, web marketers. So I would have liked to have seen Apple include all the stuff they're doing for user privacy, stuff that not only screws Facebook and Google a little bit, but also says we are also changing Safaris to manage bookmarks, to manage cookies, to imagine trackers, to imagine things like JavaScript-based. When you have views, being able to extract information even when you can't get access to the normal ways of extracting information. If they said Safari is the single most trustworthy app browser you can get, and that includes Tor, that would be a pretty big. That would be a larger step forward, I think.
And of course, the big news I think for developers, of course, is that Swift is now open source and cross-platform. So that's a huge change, a surprising one. I don't think anybody rumored this. This is just completely out of left field.
It's not going to probably make a big difference in the number of people using Swift for anything but Apple products. But what it is a good, I think, a good teaching language. And I think the real reason this is of value for Apple is that they'll probably get younger people learning.
It's a gateway drug into the Apple.
But what's going to require, of course, is widely used open source compilers like GCC supporting Swift, and we'll have to see how that happens. Swift is very much right now tied to it, like the Playground tied to Macintosh. I don't know if the Playground goes along to other platforms like Linux and Windows.
And they do things for people that change their lives.
Meanwhile, they're getting the drum kit set up, they're getting the laser lights set up, they're getting the fog machines heating
Ladies
up.
and gentlemen, I give you U2.
This amazing feeling.
Still waiting for Apple Music.
Again, it's not unprecedented for Apple's languages to be open source. Objective-C, which was developed at Next, is open source, but not widely used outside of Apple development.
So the idea of the app is to introduce music for deaf people. I'm going to put these
And on the video, Phil Schiller speaking. He is notoriously spoken about how he is shy to be on stage, so most of the time when we see him, it's through video.
Phil Schiller? Shy?
Yeah, he does. He's a little bit shy.
Apple's marketing manager, shy?
He's a little bit shy about being live on stage.
Really?
So.
His job isn't promoting himself, so that makes sense.
Everyone.
Tim Cook also didn't want another untucked
It
executive.
is an amazing time to be a developer.
He can be the only one.
He wants to be the only one.
This moment where the technology of an iPhone and an iPad and the watch.
Tim
I love
Berg's
what they're
asked
showing.
So many incredible things.
Tim Berg's asked
Different
son.
ways.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. I love the way that they're showing that
There's
different
so
ways
much
in
that
which
can
you can
still
use the
change
iPad
and
to help
evolve
children
due to the
that
power
have
of
different
applications.
deficiencies be able to reach out beyond themselves.
Apple's always been really good at accessibility. And
Accessibility, yeah.
The average
you wanna
person
show
has
up
119 apps.
Well, nice to know I'm above average.
A lot. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, as an average. They're counting the ones that come on the iPhone that can't be removed.
850 apps downloads every second.
That's more like what I do. It seems like I download like 3 or 4 apps a day.
Yeah.
These
Wow.
days. You're welcome, Apple.
And here comes Tim Cook once
On
again.
behalf of everyone at Apple, we want to thank the
it's
developer
winding up.
community for everything that you've done.
Sounds very
Thank you.
wind-uppy.
Very little attention paid to the Apple Watch
Yeah,
SDK.
where's the Apple Watch?
I'm a
You
little
have
sad about
changed
that.
so many
Mentioned
parts
it.
of all
That's
of
surprising.
our lives.
Where's music?
and transform the world.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
there's
Oh, maybe it's
developer
Maybe they're
conference
getting-
to come.
They
So
got to do
they'll
music.
talk
This
about
must
Watch
be music.
Now,
This has got to be music.
we want to talk about now the next opportunity to
Yeah.
transform the world.
Here we go.
Here we go.
And that's the opportunity to bring native apps
Oh.
to the watch.
The watch.
Yay.
New
That's-
version
yeah, I watch.
of
I don't think
watchOS.
native apps on the watch will change the world. I'm sorry. I think that's not true.
For
Big
us,
deal for developers.
To
though.
call you on that one.
Big deal for
giant
developers, though. I mean,
Well, I mean,
This is
I guess
how we
if a butterfly
felt
flapping
when
changes
we
the world,
launched
yes,
the
it will
App
change the
Store.
world.
it
Opening a
increases
new
the number of
platform
platforms
to
to develop on by
developers
50%.
to create
It's
new applications that can really change people's lives.
no, it doesn't.
We really
It's
believe
all-
deeply in this space.
Research
We
kit,
believe
you know,
in
that could
technology
be on the
designed
watch.
for
I don't
the
know. I'm
wrist.
pulling at things here.
And we believe by opening up the platform that you will create new
No,
and
it's talking
powerful
slower and quieter now.
uses that today we can only begin to imagine. We began making the Apple Watch available just 6 weeks ago. And it's pretty amazing that today we're already talking about the next version of the watchOS.
We're not talking
This
about
new
something.
version
We never talked about the first version.
will have great new capabilities, and it will bring native apps right to your
It was
wrist.
pretty clear
To tell
that
you all
Apple
about
Watch
it,
was a very first generation
I'd like to
product, and
invite
I'm
up
not
my
surprised
friend
the
and
evolution is going to happen
Kevin
quickly at this
Lynch.
point.
Yeah.
Kevin?
The hardware looks like it's fully formed. The software never looked like it was ready to go.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers that Steve Jobs said that the iPhone runs OS 10.
So we're moving really
Yeah.
fast on
And
watchOS.
it's just
He's always said that.
naming and
We're excited to
branding,
talk to you
etc.
about the enhancements that are coming in watchOS,
watchOS
as well
2.
as the
Wow.
powerful new abilities for app development. Let's start with the
This is a guy with a
enhancements.
garage door.
The enhancements
recall from the
include
last
great
keynote.
new timepiece functions,
Still can't do that, by
improvements
the
in
way.
communication as well as in health and fitness, and support for the new capabilities in Apple Pay and Maps and Siri. Let's start with timepiece. Now already Apple Watch is a really great timepiece,
This is the
most
actual
customizable
watch
one
part
in
of
the
the Apple
world,
Watch.
and a lot of that is due to the watch faces and how you can change them. Well, we're adding some new watch faces in watchOS 2. That includes a beautiful new photos face.
There you go.
To be able to select any photo that you have and create a watch face out of it. You can make more than one, of course.
That
and
was
switch
ready
between
to
them as
go,
you
but
like.
they delayed that
Or
one.
you can select a photo album, and every time
I
you
like
raise
that.
your wrist, you'll see a
New
different
picture
photo
each
from your
time.
album
Love
show up.
That's cute.
I think
It's a great way of seeing
long
your
as you
photos
don't have-
part of
throughout
that.
the day.
I think part of that was just to see what the
Now, we
battery
went a
life was
little
going to
further
be.
with this, and we shot some photos ourselves. So we did some time-lapse
I'd have to be
photography.
careful
Lighting up
with
every
photos
single one of those
shown on my watch
The way this
face.
works
Look at that
is you
animation.
create this-
Photos.
You see this 24-hour shoot that we've done in different locations.
Yeah, they
And it
must
will
have had a
be
lot
your
of
current
discussion
time
about
there. So
lighting
if
up
it's
every
noon,
single one of
you'll
those
see it in
LEDs
London.
with a photo.
If it's
Do
at
we
night,
want to
you'll
make
see
that the
Big
first
Ben all lit
experience
up.
when people are
And we've
reviewing
done this
that?
not only for London, but some other
It's
locations
going to cost a
too.
little bit about battery,
You
but the
can
battery
choose
life
Hong
is
Kong,
superb on this.
Mac
thing.
Lake,
These
which
are
is a beautiful
travel,
place in the
time-lapse
Sierras,
travel faces.
as well as New York and Shanghai and
I would
London.
love to have,
So a great way of
you know,
seeing
just
some
having
really
it
beautiful
always
imagery, both
on,
your
though,
own
be able
and
to tell
these
the time.
time-lapse images on your wrist.
Yeah, don't.
Now you can customize
I
your
don't know.
watch with these images.
It's not a
but you can also
superb
choose to
watch.
show the information that
I mean,
you like
I
on your watch.
It's a
I think that all
with something in
watch.
traditional watch terms.
yeah,
is
I think all the
called
watch faces that come
complications.
with it are kind of dull,
Now with
and
watchOS 2,
I just picked
we're
the one
really
that was
excited
least
to enable
dull.
app
Yeah.
developers
Be nice to have that kind of
make their
energy.
own complications.
There you go. Make a new
Developers can make
complication.
their own complications. There's a VW complication in the bottom of the screen there. Or is it WordPress? No, it's
So to be able
VW.
to do
This
things
is one of Mark
like
Gurman's
show
scores.
from
leaks.
United, see the state of your home control system.
Problem is you
look at
have
the charge
really
level of your
very
electric
limited
car,
real
or see
estate.
Yeah,
sports
it's
scores, for
tiny.
example, from the
It's
But
MLB
even if
app.
you just put a
You can
little
choose
dot in the
information that
corner,
you most like
because there's
to
so much
see
wasted
right
space
on
when you have
your
a circular
watch
face, that's
It's
a
gonna
big
be really,
deal.
really
Right.
cool. And this will
It's
work not only on the
valuable.
I've had a
mobile
hard
device,
time
but
picking
across
my
the
complications
other
already.
complications.
George
I-
Costanza's iToilet could just like light up a toilet if you're nearby a toilet.
I just miss from Android
So
where
it's
the
gonna be a
ability that
really
when I
fast
check the
way to look
time,
at
I
this
also get information that the watch thinks I
Now, we
should
went
know,
further than
and
that.
that
We
I
thought
don't get
it's really
whatsoever.
great to be able to see the
With the
current
ability to simply say, I decided
But what
this
about
thing, just
future
say yes, no,
information, like the
thumbs
weather
up,
later
thumbs down
today,
on a
or
single
your meeting
situation.
after
That's a big
after the
deal.
current one. And what if you could go forward in time and actually see that information update on your watch face? Well, we're supporting that in watchOS 2 with something that we call time travel. And you'll be able to rotate your digital crown, and you can go both forward and backward through time, and the information will update right
that's
on your
interesting.
screen.
That's cool.
Let's take a look here. So I've got my meeting in the middle there, and weather, and the charge level of a car, and time in
That's
London.
brilliant,
When
actually.
I rotate the crown, you can
Changes
see it's
all
changing
of
the
it.
time, and it's showing me things that are coming up.
Changes the
Now we know that a
weather,
really popular one here
calendar.
might be the stocks complication. But we
This
haven't
is
cracked
an
that one
example,
yet.
I think, of refinements that you'd
working
expect
on it.
over time. And Apple
Yeah.
traditionally waits a
You can keep
year between
rotating,
these
keep
kinds of
going
refinements,
forward,
but I
you can
think
all
the
wait
watch
till tonight, and you can
deserves
see I've got
quick
a date
updates
night
for a
tonight,
while. Anyway.
Weather's going to be good, and time in
Timely
London,
updates,
2
you might
a.m.
say.
Timely.
You can see all the information that you like
This
to
is
see
great. I like
in
that
the time
feature a
slot
lot.
to look
Yeah.
at. Really, really fun
I ended
way
up sort of
to interact
standardizing on this view
with
simply
time
because
on
there's
your
so much
watch.
information on it.
Yeah.
That's time travel.
Flux capacitors sold separately. Yeah, I
we
use the
also
utility
thought,
watch. You're using
what would be a
modular.
great
That was
experience for the
modular.
watch when it's on your nightstand and charging? Well, we've come up with a new user interface for this in watchOS 2 called Nightstand Mode.
Ah, I
When you
like
put
that.
your watch on its
very
side and it's
nice.
charging, you get this beautiful display now of the time. And of course, you can set an alarm that will wake you up in the morning, and it will go something like this. So a beautiful little bedside alarm clock now
Nice.
with Apple Watch.
This makes
And
those
the buttons on the
stands
side
for
and
the
crown
watch
act as
more
your
interesting,
snooze and
although
your
I wonder
off
how
button.
many of them are oriented
So a
that
really
way.
fun way
I
to
literally
have
just
a
moved my
nightstand
watch
view on
charger
your
into
watch.
my office
So
and
those are
away
just
from the
some
bedroom
of
because it didn't
great
have
time
function as an
features
alarm.
that are coming in watchOS
Right.
2.
Now it does.
This makes sense.
Let's look at communication.
But it
now,
looks like
already
it's
Apple Watch is
landscape
great at
mode only.
communicating
I
with
don't-
your friends.
Yeah.
You can just press the side button and see your 12 friends that you've selected.
Yes.
Now we realize
I
that
only
some of you have more than
9.
12 friends. So now in watchOS 2, you can actually have different sets of friends you can select.
Oh,
and you
work
can add a
friends.
friend right from your watch by pressing the plus sign and add a friend right there. Isn't that
I
cool?
didn't even know you couldn't do that, but you can you?
Yeah, we're seeing
Now, when you're
empty
communicating
out
with
the
someone,
drawer
you could
everything that
make a
did
phone
not make
call
it into
or send
one
a message,
file.
or send a drawing with digital touch. And now in watchOS
Plus, the Apple
2,
Watch
you'll
will
be able
help
to
you
use
make
multiple
friends because
colors in
all
your
the kids will
drawings.
think you're
So
cool.
you can draw a beautiful flower that has more than just one color.
Ah,
My drawings
multicolored
are
drawings.
better now,
Yeah.
with this.
I found that so annoying that I had to
Also,
draw
an
everything.
email. You can already read email on your watch. With
Do you draw a
watchOS
lot of
2,
drawings,
you'll be
Georgia?
able to reply to email.
The novelty left me
Ooh,
after a while.
yeah.
Plus, Renee draws so much better than I do. It
Yeah.
just
With
made
the
me feel
phone,
bad.
you can already take phone calls on your watch. We're now
Reply
going to
to
support
email.
FaceTime
Another reason why
audio.
you need
FaceTime
Apple's
audio.
Really
email.
high fidelity
That's great.
calls right in your wrist.
FaceTime audio support. That's, again, something easy to do that probably was in the original spec.
And with health and fitness,
Just didn't make
already Apple Watch is a great partner for health and fitness. With watchOS 2, we're enabling your favorite fitness apps to run natively on the watch, so you can use them wherever you are. And your workouts with these apps will contribute directly to your all-day activities.
There you
So
go.
it'd be really
Bingo.
great.
Better.
So if you go on a bike ride, it will count. We're also enabling Siri to start workouts. So you can just raise your wrist and say, hey Siri, start a 30-minute run in the park. And it will start the workout app and get it going
And then
for
you sit on the couch
you
and
can
watch
also
the
do things
run.
like, say, go for a 300-calorie bike ride, or go
Put it on
for
your
a
dog.
5-mile run.
Let the dog
and it will
go.
just start the workout without you having to touch the watch at all. And when you achieve something, there's some beautiful new achievements that you'll see that look like this. They spin right in. They're beautiful. You can play with them in 3D on
So
your
we
watch.
already
They're
have
engraved
that,
on the
but they've
back now with your
added
name.
new
and you can
faux
share these with people
enamel
over
pins.
messages or Facebook.
And you can annoy your
or
friends
Twitter.
with them now.
And if you touch
Really
that,
cool
you go into
open
the
fitness.
future, just like in the movie Tomorrowland.
With
You can
Apple
share
Pay,
those on
you saw some
Twitter
of
and
the
Facebook,
great
which
new
is yet
support
another
we're
reason to
bringing
use
for
Google
store cards
Plus.
and rewards cards. We're supporting that in the watch, so you can
Look
select
at
a
this
store card,
faux
use it
enamel
right in your
button
watch
I
in a
won.
merchant terminal terminal, waving it in front of the store stand there. And then with A wallet coming to watch, all of your rewards cards will be
I
right
did a
there.
half marathon
and you
once.
can also use
It was
those
such a
right from your
bummer
watch as
because
you're doing
they
purchases.
promised medals, but they did
With
not have
transit,
the finish line.
We're
Oh,
supporting,
that's horrible.
of course, the mass
Can't tell you
transit
how I
capabilities
seriously
and maps
bummed me
now.
out.
Yeah,
after
that
doing
makes
That
sense.
does. You can't do that. That causes huge.
That was an actual medal as opposed to a picture of a medal on a
And when you're
screen.
navigating, you'll get step-by-step directions
could have given you
about
that.
getting through the different mass transit that you use.
Or a
With Siri,
certificate.
we're
Costs
continuing to add
nothing.
new domains for Siri. In watchOS 2, we're enabling Siri to get you mass transit directions, like bus directions to the ferry
Navigation
building.
on the watch
It looks
is
like
really,
this.
I
You
think,
can
a
just start
nice feature.
navigating.
It is.
Especially if
Or
you're
you
walking.
can control things in your home
Especially
with Siri.
the differences
You can
between
say
the
things
taps,
like, hey,
though.
Siri, set the
I
dinner
still
scene.
have to kind of
And it will
understand
talk
the
to
different
any home
taps
Yeah.
for left and right.
Force touch is not
and set the
intuitive.
lights just how you want
Oh,
them.
the taps for on your wrist, the taptic taps.
Yeah, the taptics when you're walking around, which I find really helpful.
So I believe he just said that you can do your home automation stuff through Siri on the
So
watch.
you can say, hey,
That's
Siri,
nice.
show me the Instagram glance, and it will show up right in your watch face. And this could
This
be a
is
glance you
not
don't
a
even
good
have
use of the
currently
watch,
selected.
by the way.
It's a great way to show information.
The screen is so
from
big you have
third-party
to
apps
show
right there
multiple
in Siri.
pictures at once.
Yeah.
So those are just some
I
of the
immediately
highlights
took
of what's
Instagram
coming in
off that
watchOS
watch.
2. We think it's going to be a really, really great update to the watch.
Okay, so there's going to be a lot more
Now, that's
announced
not all.
over the course of the week, I think.
We also,
addressed
of
a couple
course,
of big
focused
ones,
on
though.
what we can do for developers. And already,
Heard a lot of people-
out of
a lot
the
of
gate
workout
on day
people
one, you can
complaining
build
about
apps for Apple Watch using
their
something
own apps
called
don't count, their own
WatchKit.
workouts don't count.
And that has enabled over but many thousands of apps now
They've
to be
got
created
to
for
solve
Apple
the
Watch.
speed problem.
And
You
these
know,
apps
it's-
today function
if you're going to
by
put
relying
third-party
on your
apps
phone.
on your watch now,
So you might have, for example, an app
Boy,
on your
I just
watch,
feel like-
and the user
Yeah.
interface runs on your phone.
maybe
and
the
user
speed
interface
issue
on
is
your
the
watch,
communication with
but
the
all
phone. Maybe
logic
putting
for
them
your
on the
app
watch
today
will
runs
make
on
a
your
difference.
phone.
Yeah.
Well, with native apps, you'll be able to actually move that logic to the watch. So both the UI and the logic are there.
plenty
all
of
run
memory
locally.
on the watch. You
Performance
could
will be
easily
great.
install a
Responsiveness will be
dozen
great.
apps.
It's going to be a
Yeah.
great new frontier for apps on Apple Watch with native app support. And when you're actually wandering away from your phone sometimes, your apps will be able to communicate directly with the network, with known Wi-Fi networks. So you can get the information you want wherever you are with your watch.
This is the Android Wear feature that you liked.
Yeah.
So it's not just the network. You don't have to share the Wi-Fi network. It
So
can
we
use
heard from
any
you as we
open
were
network.
working on native apps, a lot of feature
communicate back
requests,
to your
things
phone.
you'd like to do on the watch. These are a bunch of the things that we've heard.
If I
So
leave
we've been
my
listening to
phone
that.
at home, I
And
can
let's
still
go
use the
through
watch to see
some
what's
of the
going
things
on
that
at
will be
work.
possible
Yeah.
now in watchOS 2.
And at home, you can use the camera
So one of the
function
things we heard
Oh.
was
and actually use it as a
Snap a
security
picture.
cam. Yeah.
Put that in the teddy bear.
So
It's
yes,
a good use.
watchOS 2, you can access the microphone right on the watch.
Video.
And bring that audio right into your app.
So I can record audio.
I think that's an app developer thing. It's giving
Yeah.
developers access to the microphone so that
WatchOS 2
they can.
native apps, you can play back through the watch speaker, or you can play audio to a Bluetooth headset or speaker connected, both short form and long form
That's
audio.
an interesting use.
Video. We know you want to play video. You can play back short form video right on the watch face.
That's
It
big.
looks beautiful on the watch display. Access to HealthKit. We've definitely heard that. You now will have access native HealthKit on the watch,
This is a
including
significant
streaming
update.
heart rate data. So if you're doing, for example, a bike ride with Strava, you can see what heart rate zone you're in while you're biking.
Webme in the chat room is asking a question, Andy. Why didn't they release this with the release of the watch? They obviously
HomeKit
had
is
it.
natively on the watch, so you'll be able to actually
Because
talk to your HomeKit
you have it,
devices
but you don't
from
have
your
time to
watch
debug it,
control
and
them.
also there
We
are
think
other
this is gonna be a
pressing
great
crises
feature
that you
for
need to pull
control
live
right from
bodies
your
onto.
wrist. You'll be able to access the
Like, yeah, things like the
accelerometer, so
photo
you can get
background, that
movement
was
data.
done.
So,
Right.
for
That was
example,
just
from the
not-
Ping Golf app,
Look at
you
this.
can
This
check
is
out your
great.
golf swing tempo as
The
you're
watch's
swinging the
accelerometer
golf
could be
club
used
with
for
your
things
watch on.
like a golf swing. To
Yeah.
measure.
Taptic Engine is
Another
one of the
thing
things
to
that
keep in
we've
mind is that
really
they're
done a lot of focused
launching
work
this
on
at
to
a
make it
dev
great
conference
experience on
where
the
they can
wrist.
then
And we are
demonstrate how to
bringing
do it
access to
right.
Taptic
They're having,
Engine
you know,
to
they're
your app
broadcasting the
development.
devs.
So you'll be able to choose from a range
so
of
they
different
want higher
feelings,
quality
as well
apps
as audio
to
that
come
will
out
out
with
the
this thing.
speaker. So for example, if I'm unlocking my car here, I'll get feedback on my wrist, both audio and felt, just like that. Another great interaction on the watch is using the digital crown to manipulate the UI. And we're
giving
enabling
access to the crown
digital
to
crown as well
developers.
with
That's
watchOS
cool.
2. So you'll be able to control a custom UI element, like changing the temperature here, just by rotating the crown like this. Super easy way to interact with your watch.
That's really important because right now the crown is just not very useful. Everything it does is like scrolling up and down. It's better done with the finger.
So we've done a great job bringing a lot of access to the watch now now with native apps. And I'd like to show you a demo now of some examples.
Yeah, these. I'm still looking for things on the watch that are compelling enough to make me say, I gotta wear it. I gotta
I've
wear
got a
it.
watch here, and
this will. I think this can go a long way in that
and it's
direction.
connected to the display here through this little
And we
cable.
thought this would happen. As the time goes by, the watch would get more and more useful.
So let's start by looking at 3 examples of new features in watchOS 2, and then
What
I'll show
makes
you
me
3 apps.
feel like I gotta wear it
Let's
is
start
that
with
I have an iPhone.
making a photo face. So I'll just press my digital crown here, go to the home screen.
See,
There's
what's
my
most
photos.
useful for me is just I don't have
You
to
can see I've got
search
a
for
bunch
my
of photos
phone.
on here.
And
I can
if I
zoom in
lost
with the
my
crown
phone
and
or my
pan
watch, I
around.
can find
Or I
them,
can pick a
which is
photo.
going to be
Yeah,
really
you can buy
nice.
a cheap $20
That
tile and do
I
that.
want to zoom in and crop it a little
It's
more.
got to do more than
You
that.
could,
Move it over like
but
that.
it's
a nice
just
feature.
to
I'm not
have
knocking
around.
it. I've used it.
Yeah,
I
I
just
answer even answering calls when I'm in
I
a
think
meeting.
that's a
It's
good
something
feature.
important.
Yeah.
Is a
There you go.
big deal for me
Yeah.
because I just don't ever have my phone on me while I'm doing meetings.
Right.
Let's look at time travel. I'll go over to my modular face. Got some more information here. So I've got flight times here on United.
The
You can
time
see
travel is
temperature,
kind of
my
cool.
VW
It
car's
is.
charge
That's something
level,
that
and
only
time in
a
London.
computer watch
So I
could
just
do,
rotate
right?
the crown here.
It's
and
really
I
a
can go
nice
forward
feature.
in time. You can see time's updating. Now my flight's leaving. You can see at
I think
1:45.
it gives you the whole
and I
picture.
wonder
So if it's
my
the
charge
morning and you
level
want
will
to
be enough
know
get to the
what's
airport.
happening for
So I
dinner,
just keep going forward in time
you know,
here.
you just go
We'll
to
get
dinner time and it
1:45,
tells you
and you can
the
see my charge
restaurant,
level
what the
just
weather
like
is, all that stuff all
I think
together.
that's
In
very
fact,
useful.
you keep going
More
and look
than
at
that, it
boarding
prevents you
time
from
and
having
arrival
to
time
launch
for your
apps to
flight.
get to
So you
places.
can get
All
a
I
great
want to know is
preview
what
of your
time is
day
my
just by
upcoming
rotating
flight
the
and is it
crown
on
right
time?
the watch face.
And I just
Yeah.
happen, I remember that's at 4 o'clock something.
Press the crown and go
Twist
back
to find it, then go back.
Now,
Jumps
if you get
back
an
when you press the
email,
crown. I
you can
love
reply
this.
to email
This
now in watchOS
that
2.
might be the one
Here's
thing.
Here's
Yeah.
the email that's just come in.
Well, even just to find out what should I wear for
Right.
the dinner that I'm there, I can
Right.
take a look and it'll tell me what the temperature is. I don't have to flip in between applications.
Oh, very interesting. So you'll know what
So if I
temperature
just
it's going to be this
use Siri
evening.
Here, I can reply like this.
So-
Reply, I would love to.
Again, it's one of those things where the watch is going to save you time in having to flip through it and then
even
brain power.
he is having this
Siri's,
speed issue.
Making the message there. It's created a response. I just press send, and it now goes off to Mark.
So now, just
So
as you can
just by
respond
pressing
to
the crown, you can use
messages, you
Siri
can
to send a
respond to
message right from your
email
wrist.
from the watch.
Although
let's
he
look at a
didn't
few
mention
third-party
canned
apps. So let's look at
messages,
the
which would
VW
be
app
great
you
for
saw a
email
slide
as
a
well.
second ago.
I bet you they'll offer that
I'll
as
show you how
well.
that works.
He didn't show
There
it,
it
though,
is.
did he?
No.
Now I can lock my
Of course, you have
cards
to use
by pressing
Apple's
this
apps
control
for
right
this
here.
to work.
Yep.
Responds right
There's-
away.
is this
You
the
can see
VW
also
app?
open
We've
very quickly.
been seeing that
And I can
complication.
control the temperature here that we were looking at before. By just rotating the crown, you can see how responsive it is as I go up and down through temperatures here.
Huh.
Really,
Wait a
really
minute.
cool.
I'm
I'll
in
get
the
it nice and
car.
warm for me, so when I go down there,
I'm
it'll
adjusting
be
the temperature of the
nice
car.
and
I'm not
toasty,
going to
okay?
look at my watch and go like this.
No,
Right.
but if,
All right.
but if,
That could be
if you
to
got like
your
a 5-minute
home.
walk to your car.
And
yeah,
be careful
you
so you don't kill your
Now,
dog.
access to the mic is going to be really helpful
Lots
in
of
apps.
jurisdictions
And
are
some of the
starting to
apps
make
will really
laws
benefit our
about
communication
distracted
apps
driving
like
using
WeChat.
watches.
A lot
Yeah.
of
Becoming more
messages
Yeah,
prevalent.
they've already
via
had
WeChat are actually
someone in
audio
Canada
messages.
already
So
being
let's see
given
how
a
that'll work
$500
now.
ticket for
Yeah.
using their watch.
See, I've got some
Rightly
messages
so.
Here. There's one from Becky.
It's
And I
just
can
as
reply
distracting,
here
maybe
just by
more so
pressing
because
the reply
you have
button.
two hands
Takes
off
your
the wheel
hands-
instead of
Yeah.
one.
Microphone now, so I can do an audio response.
What's that
Yeah,
keyboard?
that's true. It's hard to.
keyboard.
That sounds great.
I think this is
So
one
you
of
can
the
see as
great
I was
features of
recording it, it got the
messages.
audio levels of my voice,
of
and now
watch.
it sent that to Becky. I can also reply with stickers here. There's different categories of
Oh,
them.
Lord.
Stickers.
And with the digital crown now,
Oh,
you're
excited
able to
now.
connect to your
I'm getting a
UI.
little
I can
closer.
go through
No more
recent,
not just
stickers,
3D
pick one
emoticons, but
quickly
now
that I like,
stickers.
and then just
Love
send
it.
that one as
But
well.
what was the keyboard
So very
icon?
fast to interact now
I think
with
that's
all
the
these
difference
new
between send
controls
as
you have
text or send
available
as
in
sound.
watchOS 2.
Yeah, you choose one of
Now
the
let's
other.
look at the Vine glance. Vine is a great example of playing back video on the watch, and its format is really perfect for the watch face. So here's a
So
recent one on
because
Vine.
Vine's native, it launched much faster. So I think that's the solution to that slow launching. It's,
Yeah.
God, I can't imagine though really wanting to do this. Maybe.
Yeah.
So that's video playing back right on the watch face. So those are just some examples of what you can
That's
do
my
now
one
with watchOS
consistent
2.
complaint about the
and I'm
watch.
super excited to see what all of
It
you guys
doesn't
do with all
express an
this stuff.
opinion on what's appropriate for a watch and what's appropriate for a phone.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It should let me decide. I think that makes sense.
No, it should have I think it should have a point of view.
Should have an opinion.
You can make it stronger if
Here.
you say.
Yeah,
coming as
I
well
think
as some
Andy, they
super
should make it
powerful app
here a
development
point of
tools for
view
you.
so that people that are
And we've been
making,
working really hard on
applications
this.
don't make applications that we're not going to want to want to use, which would be helpful for them. But then we get to choose just by what
Developer beta
choose
for
to download.
WatchOS 2 is available today. The bits are going out today. Did he say it?
6 weeks from our launch. It's unbelievable.
6
and then
weeks.
It'll be available in the fall to everyone.
Yeah.
And we'll work across all
Well,
the
I'd like to
watches,
get
of
that
course.
now.
And it will be free. So this has been a great adventure. We're just getting started here. And I'm really
But this is
looking
what
forward
Apple
to
needs to
journey
do, I
ahead
think,
with
at this
all of you
point, to
on
make the
Apple
watch
Thank you very
succeed.
much.
Is really
Back to Tim.
add value to it. Because at this point, I have to say, it does. It feels like kind of a G-jaw.
It's just like the iPhone when it shipped without an
that's
app
true.
store.
Absolutely.
And
out in the world, and we can't wait to see what you do with the WatchOS.
And we can't wait
Well,
to
there comes music.
We couldn't be more excited about how developers and users will use
they're
this
gonna use that one
powerful
more
Get ready for it.
systems of
One
both
more thing.
products
It's coming.
and platforms. 3 amazing platforms, the opportunities really are limitless. Now, before we close this morning, we do have one more thing. I'd like to tell you about something
Too soon?
that we've been working really hard on and something we are
Well,
super
if
excited
Xiaomi
about.
can use it, I guess Apple can.
You know, we love music. And music is such an important part of our lives and our culture.
Love the way he says
We've had a
important.
long relationship with music at Apple. And music has had a very rich history of change, some of which we played a part in. We've made a great video about the history
You're
of
watching
music.
live coverage
I'd like
of
to play it
Apple's
for you this morning.
WWDC keynote. The last bit is to come, the new music streaming service. Our broadcast today brought to you by Braintree and the Braintree V.0 SDK, which allows you to accept Apple Pay and PayPal, Bitcoin, Venmo, and more, all with one simple integration into your mobile app. If you're a mobile app developer, quickly visit Braintree V.0 SDK at braintreepayments.com/twit. You'll also get $50,000 in your transactions, of your first transactions, fee-free to get you started. Everybody uses it now. Uber uses it. Lyft uses it. Everybody uses it. You got to try it. braintreepayments.com/twit. Andy?
I think somewhere in the script for this it says, now, if our musical guest is still too high to come on, then we put on the second video and we get some more coffee in him.
Get him to the Greek.
We're watching a video that shows the history of how Apple took over the music industry.
You see all these formerly useful analog ways of listening to music, 8 tracks, albums, boomboxes. You don't need that.
This is in the year 35 BA.
CDs. Oh, I love that.
Or Apple.
Still need that in the trunk. Some junk in the trunk there. Burn disc. Little
Tower
towers.
business.
Whatever happened to Tower?
They still got one in LA.
That's kind of frisky, going out of business sign on a music store. Gosh, we're not seeing. We're
There's
not
a
seeing
watch.
anything about Ping. We're not seeing anything about.
Yeah, they left
about their
Ping
previous
out. Ping
Apple
was a big
Radio.
part of the
How about
history
that?
of music, wasn't it?
There you go, Apple Music.
Apple Music, so we now know the name is the Apple logo plus music. That's the new naming convention.
All caps like a watch.
Announcing Apple Music, the next chapter in music, and I know you are going to love it. It will change the way that you experience music forever. To tell you more about it,
Here's Jimmy Iovine,
I'd like to bring up someone
Dr. Dre.
who knows more
It'll be
about
Trent,
music
right?
and the
Trent
music
Reznor.
experience
It's going to be
than
Iovine.
anyone I know.
My roommate
He's
from
worked
Duke.
with amazing
Thinnest,
artists,
lightest music
From
service
Bruce
we've
Springsteen
ever offered.
to John Lennon
It's Iovine.
and countless others.
This is Jimmy.
We are thrilled to have him a part of the
Finally
Apple
doing
team.
something to justify his
Please join me in
$3.5 billion.
welcoming Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy.
Coming to work for the first time since we hired him.
I bet he's wearing the gold Apple Watch.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Thanks, Tim.
Untucked. Yeah, thanks,
Wow,
Jason.
It's really an honor to be here. I'm here because in 2003,
Those who see in the back, I'm
the
not
record
Paul Schaefer.
industry was a ball of confusion. We had Napster, we had LimeWire, we had BitTorrent.
These are the
this
pirate
giant
solutions.
invader from the north.
We
Technology.
didn't have BitTorrent, but
Right. We're not
I'm
pirates
looking
anymore.
at my guys saying, well, what do we do with this?
my
So
guys.
I go up to Apple and I see Steve Jobs and Eddie Q, and they showed me something brilliant and groundbreaking. A simple, elegant way
Oh, he is
to
wearing an
buy
Apple Watch. I'm not
music
sure if it's the gold
online.
one, but it looks like it.
iTunes. I'm like,
wow. What the?
The ads are real. These guys really do think different. So
That was probably the talk that they had beforehand. Don't
Yeah,
swear
don't
on stage.
swear.
You can do
move
anything,
culture
but
the
don't
same
swear.
way that art moves culture.
What did he say?
Technology and art can work together, at least at Apple. So now, 2015, music
a little bit
industry is a
nervous.
fragmented
Yeah,
mess.
this is Apple's idea of diversity.
You
They
wanna
have a New
stream
Yorker.
music? You can go over here.
They have
you
people
wanna
with
stream
fabulous
some
hair and
video?
people with no hair.
You can check some of these places out. If you want to follow some artist, there's more confusion for that. So, So I reached out to Tim Cook and Eddie Q, and I said, guys,
Allofconfusion.com.
The whole thing was my idea.
a bigger and better ecosystem.
I did check.
The elegance and
Allofconfusion.com is taken.
simplicity that only Apple can do.
And the band played on.
One complete thought around music.
I said, guys.
And from that, I'm standing here today so proud of everyone that's worked so hard.
I love this guy.
And I'm going to introduce you to Apple
This is
Music.
diversity, yeah. You never saw anybody like this on a stage at Apple.
We thought it was
a
we thought it was a perfect fit because we had a music service and Apple had billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Match made in heaven.
What the hey?
To have access to nearly all the
still
music in the
drunk,
world
still high.
in our pockets is remarkable.
It'd be interesting to see how much they've rebranded this from Beats.
Get Stairway to Heaven. Get side B of Heavy Road ready. We're going to need another 20 minutes.
I preferred Whiter Shade of Pale when I needed to take a break.
Music. Not just the top-tier artists, but the kids in their bedrooms, too. Provide them all with a home and a way to engage with their audience.
This is Apple trying to stay hip. I mean, one of the problems Apple has is it has become, as Samsung has pointed out, there's Trent Reznor, it has become kind of your mother's.
It's a boomers thing.
And so they
on Apple Music, all the ways you love music can now live together.
Yeah, we've come a long way from the I'm a Mac
anytime.
Commercials.
they're not hip
become the
anymore.
parody.
This is their attempt.
Recommendations, and all that's great and breaking in music.
That's a weird audio quality. Like
and
it was
Broadcasting
done
Every Day is Apple's first 24/7
recently.
worldwide radio station. Live in over 100 countries, Beats
B1?
One is anchored by Zane Lowe in LA.
Beats One, worldwide, always on.
Ebro Darden in New York.
This is the BBC One DJ they hired.
And me, Julie Adenuga, out of London.
Oh, there you go.
Cannot wait to play you guys some music we've got lined up. Some wild
So we're bringing back
At the heart of
DJs.
Apple Music, there's Connect.
DJ
Where
curated
artists
music.
can share with fans like never before.
It sounds like shows.
Songs, remixes, demos,
Are they
mixtapes,
picking whatever they
photos,
want,
videos,
or
lyrics,
are
and
they
soundbites.
told, hey, here's
Really
what we've
any
been
way an
paid to
artist
play?
chooses to express themselves.
Yes, a little bit of both, right? Whatever's.
For fans, we tried to create a complete experience. By combining the catalog of the world's music.
Will there be an Android
music that's not
version?
in that catalog.
There has to
direct
be.
from the artist to you. And the shared experience of Beats One.
The real
artists
thing is, what can they do to
build
get
an
people back
ecosystem
from
we hope
Spotify?
can start to provide the tools to grow, nurture,
Ban
and sustain.
Spotify from the App Store.
One place.
Interesting phrase, direct from the artist to you.
Yeah, there's
performance,
rumored a
right?
social network for the artists, where each artist
That's one
has
thing
a
they can
profile.
do, right?
Exactly.
So Tidal tried to do. That's what the Jay-Z was trying to do with Tidal. Say, yes, we're
if
going to have a
that's
direct connection.
They're gonna crush Tidal.
It's all the ways you
Tidal
love
didn't really
music,
have much of a
all in
chance,
one
I'm afraid.
place. And that place is almost in 1 billion hands around the world already. One app, one single app on your iPhone.
And
That's a big deal, though.
Android.
Apple Music is three
device.
things. It's a revolutionary music service.
Little tip of the hat.
He
to
doesn't know
Steve
why they're
Jobs' iPhone
laughing because he wasn't
doesn't
paying
know.
attention to Apple
Yeah.
when it.
What?
Revolutionary music service curated by the leading music experts.
Just do it, Jimmy. They'll love it.
who we helped handpick. These people are going to help you with the most difficult question in music. When you're listening to a playlist, what song comes next? The only song that's as important as the one you're listening to at that moment is the one that follows it. Now, picture this. You're in a special moment. You're exercising or some other special moment.
For me, it is a special moment.
Yeah, a rare moment in my case.
This is a really good point. You have a certain set, a certain
And you're
beat
about
you're
to turn
exercising,
up
and
the
then
reps.
suddenly you end up with a
And the
music that
next
has a
song
completely
comes on.
different tone and feeling to it. It can get you out of the groove.
Right.
So I think that he's giving it a
That's what
great point, but
Spotify-
it's nice.
That's what Spotify's doing with their new
by an algorithm
curated kind of
alone.
music that matches your
Algorithms
cadence.
alone
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
do that emotional
Here's
task.
his response.
You need
Algorithms
a
alone
human
can't do it.
touch.
Yeah.
And that's why at Apple
Human
Music, we're going to give you
curation.
the right song, the right playlist, at the right moment, all on demand.
But Jimmy, that's got to be by a
Now, the
machine.
first ever
I'm sorry.
live 24-hour worldwide radio station.
Yeah, radio station.
Trent
Bringing back
Reznor
radio.
calls me up and says,
The
I
Beats
got
One
it.
is a radio
Here's what we're
station
gonna
with
do.
a DJ.
Yeah, it's BBC
Let's
One,
build
owned by
first
Apple.
ever worldwide live radio station broadcast from 3 cities.
Yeah, this is
that
what
plays
happens when you get
music
an
not
old
based
music
on
guy.
research,
Yeah, exactly.
Not based on genre, not based
like the-
on drum beats, Only music that is great.
It's like the
based on
silicon.
that it's great. That's it.
A
It's
station
great.
that has only
on
one
each
message.
My God, they've cracked it.
Music itself. So I said,
Only good music.
Artists always have the greatest
I bet
ideas
Samsung's going to steal that idea of playing good music.
Impossible to execute.
Bastards.
You know, the TuneIn Radio has maybe 30 or 40,000 radio stations on it.
We're at
Yeah.
Apple to
I'm
help
not sure that
artists'
this 3
dreams be
stations is
realized.
Right. And what isn't 24/7?
So we built a
Global.
station.
Anything
Right.
on the internet is
Anything.
24/7 and global.
Music
Yeah.
lovers'
We're
dream.
24/7 global.
If you love
Their
great
existing
music
radio
without
stations on
any
iTunes are
restrictions,
24/7 and global.
You're gonna love
Every
Apple
genre
They call it
possible.
Beats One.
Beats One is one of
Finally
them. That's
Connect. A fantastic way for established and
And there's the
new
personalized
you
version called Beats Me.
You can always listen to BBC Radio 1 on iTunes,
That's
on
right.
app, or
This is going
TuneIn.
to be very powerful for musicians. Can you imagine being an up-and-coming artist and being able to share your music on the biggest
Well, you're
music
gonna have to keep
platform in the
imagining
world?
it.
Yes.
People already have.
This is very Shark Tank sort of
Apple
vibe to this
Music?
presentation.
Yeah. Or American
Well,
Idol in
shucks.
his case.
But there are problems with curated playlists.
It feeds
What if
off
I'm
each other.
exercising?
When you upload your
good.
What do you
music to
say,
Apple Music,
Sharks?
anything
That's
can
interesting because
happen.
my MacBook
So,
just
now let me
crashed.
We
leave
must
it
be getting the
real
new
heavy
Yeah, something must be
updates.
up.
my great friend Eddie Q and tell you how this all works together.
I mean, it's interesting. It Beats One is going to have a big leg up just by virtue of the fact that it'll be pre-installed on.
That's the leg up. Is we're another one of those
Jimmy.
apps in your
Great
phone.
to be here.
Hey, Eddie.
He's untucked, but he's
So Apple
untucked with the
Music
shirts
Tails
that are
shirt.
straight
Tails.
across.
Conspicuously
Have
And it
looks.
starts with My
Little
Music.
off.
We've added some great new features from
Great
iTunes,
colored.
like the Up Next queue.
I like the
Yeah.
cuff thing that he's
Also,
doing
the
there.
recently added
He
albums
takes it. He
and
doesn't
songs
roll
right
it
across
up
the
all the
top.
way. He just rolls it up
And all of the
one.
music you've purchased, along with the playlists you've created on your Mac or your iPhone, are right here. Now, of course, you can search your music
Gotta point
library,
out, the
but
man is
now
wearing
you
a
can
watch
search
on the wrong
and stream
hand.
The millions and millions of songs that we have on iTunes.
Well, it's his own hand that makes it the correct
It's
hand.
his hand.
Now, in addition to My Music,
Left-handed.
when you can stream and listen to any song you want, you need a great place to start. And that's why we've created For You. For You recommends playlists and albums
Better than Beats Me.
that we think you're going to love.
I like that, actually.
Personalized to your taste based on the music you listen to,
What are you listening
the artists
to?
you love.
Beats me.
And it isn't just algorithms.
They missed a bet.
It's recommendations made by real people who love music.
Yeah, this is Jimmy
and
Iovino's
they're
whole
our team of
pitch for
experts.
10 years.
Does that look like a
Now, let's
Valentine's
take a look
card?
at
The whole
new.
thing's pink with
Here
like
you'll
hearts. And,
discover new artists and albums every week, along with the top
you know,
charts. And every one of our playlists,
This
all
is the
human
challenge. This
curated,
looks
available
just
by
like
genre
every other music
or by
service. It's not.
activity.
and that doesn't look like an iPhone either. It looks like
So,
an Android phone.
when you
or
think
something.
of
It looks like a
Apple
Sony.
Music, it's My
'Cause they
Music
cut off
You
the
don't have to
for
download
you
Yeah.
It's
and
just
new.
already going to be on your phone.
That's
It
the
makes it
only
fun and
advantage they
easy
have.
to experience
But Apple
the
Stocks is
catalog
also
of
on
the
my
world's
phone. I don't
music.
use it.
But you don't
And
have
that
to
is the
sign up
revolutionary
either.
music
You're looking for
service.
something, it's there.
Now let's talk about radio.
But you do have to sign
The
up.
truth is,
They also-
internet radio isn't really
They
radio.
do know that
It's
music
just a
fans
playlist
just
of songs.
want to follow.
So we wanted to do something
Like,
really
think
big.
about the social media
We wanted to
following
create a
that Lady Gaga
worldwide
has, who's,
live
by the way, a
radio
big Beats
station
partner for a long time.
around the globe.
And now
We've done that
people will be able
each
to
one.
follow Lady Gaga on
It's
her
the
own
world's
profile
best
page
radio
on
station
inside
now.
the music.
Let's see. Have
World's
they
best
announced that
voice.
yet?
And that's why we've hired Zane Lowe. Zane is a masterful interviewer
the
and
Zane
an
Lowe.
influential music figure in his own right. And to tell you more about it, here is Zane.
I'm a music fan. I play records. What
Well, I
love
play
is watching a
records.
group of people.
Yeah,
react
what's
to
a
great
record?
for the first
Fourth
time.
place in a Johnny Ive look like
When I play
contest.
that record on the radio, the audience tell me. The timelines light up. My friends tell me.
Yeah, see,
My
the thing is, he
phone
can be
lights
the most
up.
famous DJ
They
in the world.
love
We've
it,
never heard of him.
or they
Who cares?
hate it, but it creates a debate. That's what good music on the radio does.
That's not what anybody
When Apple
wants.
first asked me to be involved in this, they told us to put the great music in front of the average, the unexpected, the undiscovered, the
I think
anticipated.
this was Jimmy
the
Iovine's vision.
underrated.
Yeah.
He brought
Their
this to
words
Apple. This is
move
what they were.
the
And
needle.
by the way, Beats
And that's what
had
we're doing.
110,000
We have
subscribers.
real
They-
music fans
It did not
running this
win
place. We have great music
fans.
DJs.
Right.
He's brought this to Apple, and Apple's bought it hook, line, and sinker. I don't know if this is enough to take away the advantage that Pandora and the Spotify, the incumbents, have.
Right.
I mean, people give it a sample, and if they like it the first 20 minutes,
Yeah.
they're in. I mean, I don't. This doesn't
$10 a
excite me,
month.
but
You know, it's not.
It doesn't excite me, but if I tune in and I'm consistently getting great music that I've never heard before,
That's true.
get me.
If they do it, they could win me over. Absolutely.
So here comes the profiles by artists.
And that is radio. Next, we wanted to find
We've
a way to
invented
bring
radio.
fans closer to the artists they
Radio
love.
on the internet.
And we call it Connect.
We invented a social network
It's
you
a
can't
place
join.
where artists are free to upload their music, their videos, their photos, all directly to a fan. Let's take Pharrell, a favorite musician and songwriter of mine. Now, he's prolific.
Okay, who
and
cares?
He does a lot.
Yeah, no,
Let me
how's
show
this
you
really
how
different
How about this? How about the street
takes a lot
performer
of
in Harvard
photos.
Square that I want
He
to
writes
hear
a lot
more
of
from?
lyrics.
Can he or she simply
He's
upload a song?
experimenting and mixing
gives you
songs
that.
all
I mean,
the
you
time.
can,
or he just has
Right, but
something
here's-
new and interesting to say. Well,
Because
all of
Pharrell
this
needs
lives
some
right
help
in
marketing
Connect.
his music,
Yeah.
getting his message
Artists
out there.
can post and publish and upload anything, including directly to Facebook, Twitter,
It's just
and their
one
own
more
website.
social network I have
And
to be a part
fans
of.
can like and comment on those posts.
Uploaded Facebook and Twitter
And it's
part
not
of their
just for
Anything
one
to Google
artist,
program.
but it's for all of the artists that you love. And to give you a little sense of what it's like
You need
to
exclusives.
be an
is what
artist
you
on
need.
Connect,
You need
I'd
to
like
have that
invite
album
up
for the first
a
6
friend.
months. You need to have
Drake.
that performance, that concert.
Yeah.
That's what Tidal's trying to do. I don't know if it's really done anything.
Yeah.
Is this Zayn?
Drake.
Drake? Yeah, they all look alike. I don't know. It's the bald head and beard thing.
Another bone for Canada.
I want to say, honestly,
Oh, old Apple.
Old
logo.
Apple, old school
6-color
Apple.
logo.
Yeah. Ooh.
That doesn't
so
look
many
vintage.
individuals that have changed the way
You think
in which
that's
the world
new?
relates to technology.
Are we going to
So
see
give
those
yourself
come
a
back
round
when the
of
Apple
applause.
Store reopens?
I like that coat.
The campus.
Get the music service. Where can I get that coat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For example,
I would buy the hell out of that coat.
I bought this vintage Apple employee's jacket using a
Stand
tool
corrected.
known in the rap world as the internet. It's going to be huge this year. It's out of this world. He's excited. He knows about it, that guy right there. No,
Drake's got some style.
honestly, in
I
all
like that.
seriousness, I came here today to share my story about the
He's
way
also wearing his
technology
Timberlands.
changed what
Yeah,
I
we
do
should
for a
all
living.
wear lumberjack boots to
I'm
work.
from Toronto, Canada.
Ever heard of that? Canada represent? You're not going to be getting this service.
We got one.
And you know, as a kid
No,
growing
I
up,
know.
I always wondered
The
if my
full
city or
shaft
even my
on the
country
show.
would have somebody break into the global music scene as a true superstar. You know, the dream seemed unattainable at the time. I mean, even myself, I tried to do it the traditional way. You know, the towering New York label buildings,
Got the little
lobby
rainbow apple
littered
button.
with other
Cute.
people's accomplishments. It's improbable to think that every talented artist is going to get a shot to have their vision validated.
See that X on the floor
And
that
then
was carefully painted for you,
that's
Drake?
when the game
No,
changed.
I like this.
And
I
we
think
had
that
to change
Apple's
it.
presentations are
Myself
way too canned.
Yeah, he's
and my
genuine.
team
I know he's not just going off the
brought
top
our
of his
vision
head, but he seems like
and
he's
our
free
music
to
No, it's very
directly to the
natural,
people.
yeah. He's a performer. He's actually an actor.
And that was kind of the first time that we really got noticed. The dream of being a new artist like myself 5 years ago and
Unsigned
connecting
artists
directly
can
with an
also,
audience has never
use
been
this,
more
which
close
I think
and
that's
reachable
important.
than right
And
now.
that's wonderful, but how do you
See, now,
find them in
we
the
encourage
sea
you
of
to
so many
spend
artists that are going to be
the
more
time
popular?
on your body of work. Spend the time on your craft. Assemble the right body of work. And instead of having to
He
post
has
your
a gold
stuff
watch
all
on,
these
also on
different
his
and
right arm.
sometimes confusing places.
Maybe if you're in
It all
music,
lives
you
in
wear your
one
watch on the right side.
Very simple, very easy place.
I'm a lefty. I still
and
wear
that
it
is
on my
Connect.
left arm.
I didn't know you were a
It's
lefty.
right from where you are, in your city, in front of your computer. And this
It's in
approach
my
is how we
city,
broke in
on my
2008.
computer.
And it has
Maybe
been
he just likes wearing his
perfected
Android
and
Wear watch on his
simplified
left.
That's probably it. That's how I do
That's
it.
right. On the other hand, it's 12 o'clock.
So, you know, as I'm working tirelessly on this next album, this comes at the perfect
Quick,
time
get
for
the
me.
plug in, Drake.
Right.
Given the great
5,000 watt
success
radio
of my
station.
last
Fresno,
mixtape that went
California.
directly to iTunes, this really, I can't wait to incorporate Apple Music and especially Connect into what I'm
prompter
doing
guy's
next. I'm
going,
really
"Yeah,
excited
where
about
is he?
I'm
What
working
is he
on.
talking
and as an
about?"
artist, I can say, for all those kids sitting at home, it's truly
Scroll it,
amazing
scroll.
to be part of something that I believe in. And this is something that
made me unlock
that
the head on
simplifies
my camera.
everything for the modern musician like myself. and the modern music consumer.
Focus was
like
set,
you.
the exposure was
So,
set, and
hope
now
you
I have
enjoy
to get
Apple
up from my
Music. I hope you
chair
enjoy Connect.
and
My name
pan
is
it
Drake,
left and right.
thank you for your
I
time.
hate this
Appreciate it.
service.
Okay, love, man, peace. Yeah, love you, man. Is that Don McAllister in the front row there?
Thank you, Drake. And that is Connect. Now,
What?
I'd love to give you
I
a
don't know
demo
what
of
that
Apple
was.
Music.
I don't know. But
Before
what
I
was
start,
Connect? I don't know.
I do want to wish
Leo, can you
Phil
tell me?
Schiller a happy birthday.
Hey, Craig gets to sit back down. Phil, I'm
there he
shy.
is.
Phil, I'm Shy Schiller. Here's Angela Ahrens in the front row there.
Yeah.
Does that count? Can you
No.
light us
So-
up?
Someone start singing.
Let's go ahead
My
and launch
sparkler.
our new music app.
Waiting.
You'll notice right away it's got a brand new UI, much simpler to use. Your recently added albums and songs right across the top. Let's play this new song from Spoon I added.
Spoon I added. I never heard.
I never heard of Spoon I added.
One of the things you'll notice, we have a new mini player across the bottom that always shows
Dan
you
loves
what's playing.
Spoon. Dan
And
Hendricks
if I
loves
tap
Spoon.
on it, I get full screen and I can see the beautiful artwork, all the playback controls.
I think I got the look.
I can just swipe down and it disappears. Now,
Leo.
I like looking at my
Leo.
music by artists. It's really easy
Do
to
it.
do that too. I'll just tap on albums, switch to artists.
Nice sleeves. Nice,
let's take a
nice
look at
cuffs.
Aretha
Hey,
Franklin.
I was listening to that.
First thing you'll notice is we add beautiful artwork to all the artist pages. Notice as
That's
I
what I
swipe
look
up,
for in a music app.
goes away and you see Aretha at the top.
I'd like
And
liner
no demo
notes.
goes complete without playing this song.
He likes Aretha.
Part of me wonders how much does it cost for them to put this in the live stream.
What you want?
Now,
Baby, I love it.
Your Aretha Franklin
What?
songs in
Oh,
your music
sorry.
library, but you can also tap on all, and now you can see all of the songs on Apple Music, including the latest release, what the top song is, what the top album is.
I'm telling you, they got to pull
Now,
out
it's hard
something
to
here.
stop this
'cause
Yeah,
but I
this
wanna
is
keep
all
going.
very mediocre.
I can do this
No.
on
Let's
any
go back
music
to my
app
library.
existing.
And let's take a look
I
at my
didn't know that
playlist.
the app didn't do that.
Now,
before.
despite the game last night, I'm getting ready for
Yeah.
tomorrow
And I'm
night,
like,
and I've already
oh,
started
really?
creating my playlist.
Oh,
Okay.
Eddie's
One of the first
Warriors
things you'll notice is
mix.
we can add your own artwork to your playlist.
What do you bet Uptown Funk
And
is
I'm gonna
number
do
one
this
on that
tonight,
list there?
Getting this Warriors
Would
ready.
people really want to put their
Well,
own
let's go
artwork?
back.
That's
It
spending
is
so much time.
karaoke night.
No.
And
I don't know.
these are some of the songs that our team has to look forward to.
Karaoke
tonight.
99
legend.
cents is already too much effort for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just
Is
a
that
minute.
an Uma Thurman cut?
Yes.
Is there a band named Uma?
Now, if I tap
No, it's, yeah.
on the mini player, I can see
I'm
the full
confused.
screen. If I
Yeah.
tap on the right-hand side next to the playback controls, I
Oh,
can
that's
see
the
complete
Munsters theme.
playlist, and it's very easy for
I
me to
believe it.
reorganize
I
it.
believe
Let's say
it.
I want
I'm
to
confused.
Sampled something.
And now that'll be the next song.
What is
to play.
going on?
It's that simple.
The kids today with the clothes in
Why
their
are
hand
they
and
playing
music.
the Munsters
Don't get me
theme?
started. It's called sampling.
Now that's great. The first time we go to For You, we want to find out a little bit about your musical taste. And so
Oh.
we're going to ask you.
So this is
what
the
genres
sentence
you
that
like.
was famous for
Big fan
beats,
of
but this
rock,
is a little different.
Yeah.
Now they're doing
Pop.
Google circles.
hip hop,
All right.
and alternative.
See, I want my,
And,
my
now
music
we'll
app
ask
to
you for
tell
some
me
of
what I
our
like
artists
just
that
from
I
what I
like.
choose. I don't want to have to
Yeah.
program
I love
anything
Bruce
else in. I
Springsteen
just
from
wanted
Tap
to know.
Twice.
I'm not
Yeah,
really
me-
sure what I
I
like.
wanna
I
say-
like Lord.
Beats did
like
this, I
Bob
think.
I like Bob Dylan, but not the
Now
new
we're gonna
Bob
take all of this
Dylan. I like
information
Right.
you provided
Broadway,
along
but I
with all
don't
of your
like. Yeah.
playlist
Yeah. I mean,
and
Yeah.
the songs that you purchased on iTunes.
This is a little
and we're gonna make
Pandora-y, right?
recommendations just for you. So here's one inspired by Bruce Springsteen.
Since you like Bruce Springsteen,
Here's one called
There's
Bring,
some services
Bring
where I
the
say,
Big
okay, I
Rock.
like
Let's
opera.
play
They say,
that.
oh, well, he likes old timey music.
Right,
I'll play a lot of
right.
folk and I'll play a lot of opera.
That's a great Foo Fighters song. I can just tap and see.
They're
the
all
rest of the
great Foo
songs.
Fighters songs.
Andy, I knew
You know
Andy would
nothing.
say, I knew Andy would say that. What do you mean? Hey, great.
Now, here's another one from Pharrell. And I also get new albums that are available to me, and even some classic albums that I should be listening to.
Who's next?
And so here
Public
are some
urination.
brand new
Yeah.
music from the artists that I really love. Now here's an interesting one. Cuban.
See, all they have to do is
Cuban
have a
playlist.
really-
You might be
even
wondering,
stuff
how
you've
did
heard
that get in there?
It's a
Well,
great
I like
first
a lot of
experience.
Latin music.
First 20 minutes, if they
And
stick
so
to that.
Apple
Yeah,
Music
I
knows that, and
think
it's
you're exactly
recommending
right.
this playlist
That
to me.
the
Let's take a
sign-up
look at it.
experience is the key on that. Because that is what you're going to get everybody
Yeah.
to do.
Well, no,
I mean,
right, that-
it's on my
that's
phone.
fine.
I need a great. Oh, Eddie.
Definitely gets my Cuban
I'm
playlist.
rapidly losing confidence in their music service here.
Now this This is a
Somebody
playlist
give him some
I like.
maracas.
So I'm going to tap on the plus sign. and I've added that now to my playlist.
You know,
I need another button.
I get nervous.
Take a look at what's new.
You need some gold chains.
They rushed through all kinds of really information-dense presentation stuff to get to this fluff that's been going on now for 15
Which
minutes.
isn't, it's not selling me, right? It's taking all this time. I'm feeling a little bit confused. I'm like, why? I would love to know just, what does it give me? Why should I sign up and how effortless it's going to be? How is it going to make my music better?
I'm still trying to wake up from the Drake speech.
Callisto in our chat room says, so, what will it cost to play all these fabulous songs on demand, Eddie?
The top songs.
I'm predicting it's going to be $10 a month, which is what everybody's charging, unless they can get down below that. But they're not, because the labels won't let them.
Right, exactly.
And then it's how many months free? The rumor was 3, which would be significant. If you can get me for 3 months listening to your service, and it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Why this isn't in your Warriors mix, Eddie? I do question your judgment.
Freak out. Freak out.
Are you saying that they ripped this off from Chic Le Freak?
I got to work on some of those moves for next year.
Jeez.
Now, sometimes you just want to sit back and let someone else be your DJ.
Yes.
So let's go to radio.
After all.
And to give you a little taste of what Beats One is going to sound like.
It's going to be very quiet.
We welcome our special guest, Florence from Florence and the Machine.
Do you want that? That's a radio station.
Not how you think like
It's a BBC radio station.
It's they took over.
Yeah.
cycling to the studio.
I guess people want this. I mean,
Who does?
it just feels dated to me.
Yeah, it does.
People that love it in all corners of the globe. Broadcasting to 100 countries.
Beach One.
Rather than do one, they want to do everything.
That's really awesome.
Holy
Let's take a look at Connect.
They've
See what
reinvented
some of my
Boss
favorite
Radio.
artists are
Yeah.
up to. So here's Pharrell.
very confusing.
Some behind-the-scenes footage. Here's Chris Cornell. This is an interesting one. He's actually posted lyrics of a new song that's coming out.
That's as lazy as you can get.
Just
Here's a picture of a
here's the
notebook.
steal.
Here is that
They're
you
working on
feel
their
like you're
next
part
album.
of
Let's
this
see what
band's
they have to
marketing
say.
campaign.
Yeah, that's the problem. We don't know why these records are there.
We're working on a song called Blame, which some of you
Again,
might
it would be a
have
big
heard
deal
at
if
festivals
I can
or gigs before.
have a picture of my phone of a performer in Harvard Square.
Dr. Mom
He or she
says
has-
Stannis Baratheon tied the wrong victim to the stake. Okay, now that's...
Well, that's a little harsh, would you say? And also, I think we can agree that that particular victim, you should never tie a person like that to a stake. So I'm opposed on 2 different fronts.
You're offended in 2 different ways.
I don't want to spoil anything for someone who hasn't seen the show, but
I just got to
if
point
you
out
think
that
it was okay
they've now played several of the songs that they played before the keynote, including this Alabama Shake song. And they've highlighted this. It really raises the specter of how much, with Jimmy Iovine, how much are they in the pocket of the record industry? How much of this is just promo material for the record industry? And if that's the case, that's exactly what people don't want.
Well, exactly. And Jimmy Iovine's big claim to fame is his mastery of the art of taking music and making money from other things based on music. And so, but I do think that they're onto one powerful thing here, which is that they're making a big play for the artists to get on and embrace Connect. And if they can get them to get on Connect and to talk about Connect and promote Connect, and in their concerts say, hey, check out my Connect page, then that's a win for Apple. That's something that's somewhat vaguely...
You know that the labels are going to say to their artists, please participate. We expect you to participate.
But the rest of it is just like everyday, ordinary music service.
Right.
And it would have to be something better than what the artist already has on their personal website and Twitter and Facebook and everything else that they have, because if not, it's one more place that you have to search for information.
Isn't that what they tried to do with Ping?
Yeah.
Why is this better than Ping? Why is this going to succeed?
Because Jimmy Iovine says it is.
It's like, how are they going to? How many people are not using Spotify or Google Music that are capable of using it right now?
Right.
Because it seems as though if you're already sort of into one of those other services, you're gonna give up a lot of familiarity. Your playlists you've maybe been building for the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So
and it's not
hugely
probably
popular
gonna be
for somebody
cheaper.
who has never used this before, maybe.
Siri integration is nice, although I have that now with Google Now, and I can choose the service. I can have it integrate to Spotify.
Right. Even Alexa has, even the Echo has that.
Apple Music includes, he says, tens of thousands of music videos with no ads. Google Music includes the entire YouTube library of music videos with no ads if you pay the $10 a month. Playing the top 10 alternative songs.
Alternative to what?
Meaning the phrase alternative seems to have changed.
Yeah.
I can see all of the top 10 songs and what's next.
That any song called "Shut Up and Dance" isn't really alternative to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And let's go back to my high school days when I graduated.
Let's not go back to your high school days, Eddie Q.
Play the top song from May 1982.
Hey, I love this song. That's my favorite. I love rock and roll.
None of you were born when this was recorded. Stop sucking up.
Actually, Joan Jett was just on live with Kelly and Michael.
Really?
She's making a big push. This is another thing. I feel like this is all the record industry going, yeah, we'll make a deal with you, Apple.
Have you ever gone to a movie and you love the soundtrack or the song that was on there?
So it's not accidental.
That's
or
never
you've
happened to me
forgotten about
once.
it later.
Once.
Well, it's really easy with Siri. Play the song from Selma.
The song from Selma?
There's only one?
Apparently.
Let's do that again.
I like Imagine Dragons. Don't stop now.
I can help you search for Selma on the internet.
Actually, kudos to them because they're doing that live because that was a mistake.
That's a big deal. I would have thought that all of that would have been already.
Yeah.
What's weird is
for
that
them for doing it live.
Yeah, that's interesting.
voice recognition correctly found Selma. They
It's the
did.
wrong thing.
They found the wrong.
Then that's exactly what's going to happen to you, by the way.
Well,
And
they must
that
really
is
believe
Siri,
it if they're going
and
to do it
that is
live,
Apple
though.
Music.
So.
Yeah.
Kudos to them for doing it
better.
for real. But there you
It is
go.
a revolutionary music service with recommendations just for you. A worldwide live radio station with the world's best DJs.
See, the recommendations
An
for me never
exciting way
work
for
anyways
fans
because
to
I have other
connect
people
with
download
artists.
songs
And
on
of
my
course, this is joined
then
by
suddenly
the
I have
iTunes
these
Music
messed up
Store, the best
suggestions.
place to buy music. Apple Music is all of the ways you love music all in one place. And we're launching in over 100 countries later this month.
Pretty much
with
all of
iOS
them except Canada.
For your iPhone, iPod Touch, and iPad, as well as a new version of
that's
iTunes
painful.
for the Mac, a new version of iTunes for Windows, and
Thank
Android
God.
is coming this fall.
Oh, good.
Okay. Wow.
And a new version of iTunes is a significant.
Now,
Yeah.
Apple Music
If
will be
it's better.
just $9.99 a month, the cost of an album. And we want everyone to try it.
What's an album?
So we're making the first 3 months free.
You called it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was the rumor. This all makes sense. You got to give us a big
Yes.
trial
Now,
offer.
we want to do
Yeah.
something
You have to
really
make
great
people
for
almost addicted to
Today,
it by
Right.
the
you have to
end.
buy a
You want
music
them to keep on
subscription
paying.
And there's a lot of pressure on Zane to make that,
Or
Beats
you share
One
an
be
account,
really
even though you're
good
not
and
supposed to,
grab
and
people
now
because
all
that's
of you can't play at the
at this
same
point that's the
time.
only
Distinction.
differentiator I see. They took out
And your
the
playlists
Beats
and
sentence
recommendations
feature.
get
That's
all
not there
messed up.
anymore.
Yeah.
Well, with Apple Music, for just $14.99,
the
you can
family
have
See, now
six
beware of
family
this. I did this
members.
when it was
Family
Beats
pack.
Music, and nobody could get it to work. We paid for it for months, and AT&T, and I couldn't find anybody who got it to work.
This was an AT&T
Everyone
exclusive.
gets their own account, their own library, their own recommendations.
All right, see, I'd do that.
That's a good price.
Incredible value. And that is Apple Music. Thank you.
And again, that means that somebody in the family, first of all, it sells a lot of iPhones. Somebody in the family is going to say, "Come on, everybody, we're going to do this."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that moves that whole group over to it.
That's right.
So,
We really
And that
love
stops people
Apple
from
Music, and we
staying
hope
on
that you do
Spotify.
too.
yeah, it's that
And we're so
equivalent would be
excited
about
about it,
$60
and with
bucks
all the
for 6
countries
people.
we're rolling
No,
out
Spotify
to,
has a deal, but it's not.
we made a
I
great
think it's
ad
$5 for each
Yeah.
to tell the
additional
world
person.
about it.
Yeah.
So that'd be
honestly-
$35.
I honestly
after
wonder
three
if there's
people,
a
yeah.
new style guide naming convention for using all caps. What becomes an all caps name and what doesn't?
Yeah.
And they were able to do that because Apple was able to strong arm the labels, presumably.
Well, strong arm.
I don't know if Apple was
just
able
know.
to do much
I don't-
strong
I don't-
arming.
I don't
Because
think
they
the
know
music
how
industry can be
successful,
strong.
Apple has been with everything else that they're launching. So I think it's also a mutually beneficial agreement.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I don't think. I think they see the opportunity of having a preloaded music app.
Yeah.
Second appearance of a 6-color logo. I hope we're seeing a renaissance here.
It'd be nice.
Ooh.
Only with the hip folks. I feel like this is the only way this succeeds is by Apple strong-arming it onto iPhones, onto iPads. This isn't remarkably different than anything else in the industry.
Wow, that's super
They're
dangerous.
showing some really dangerous.
Really not a good idea.
That's Apple Music. Apple Music is dangerous.
It lives on
that's
the
right.
edge.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's alternative.
Music
Yeah,
connects with
standing on the
us
pavement when you're in a
deep
moving car is an
emotional
alternative
level.
to sitting in the
We couldn't be
chair.
happier to launch Apple
Or to
Music.
be able to walk for the rest of your
We
life.
can't wait till you start listening to it at the end of the month. This has been a jam-packed morning. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. We want to thank everybody for joining us, especially the developers. And I'd like to recognize all of the people in Apple, all of our team that have worked so hard on making and creating all of these products you've seen this morning. Thank you, guys. It is an incredible privilege of a lifetime to work with them.
There'll be a musical act,
Now-
don't you think?
Yep.
I've got one last thing. Before we go,
Since we already burned the
it's
one
only
more thing.
fitting
Right.
to celebrate the launch
One
of
more,
Apple
another
Music
thing.
with an incredible music performance
Drake?
Weekend.
by one of the hottest new artists in music today.
I'm too old to know who they are.
Not only a hot new artist, but
You
he's
recognize her
going
from
to do
Disney XD?
a worldwide premiere of his newest song this morning.
Hey, Rail.
Please give it up for The Weeknd.
Oh, I don't know who they. Is this something Zane likes? Because I don't know. I don't know who they are.
And see, that's the difficulty. You have people of every age group using
Yeah.
iPhones. So if you have playlists that are great for people who are in their teens and 20s,
Well, I really feel like Apple does, and the reason they spent so much money on Beats, this is their bid to be hip, to be cutting edge.
Yeah.
I think they have to have seen in their market research something that Samsung tried to play upon, which is that the Apple phone is for your parents.
Yes.
And we
that's
got to get the young people, to think Apple's cool again. Apple was cool.
And so they're doing it through their parents by offering
No,
the
but-
family plan.
Okay, but to be fair, look at how well Apple products are selling, how well the iPhone is selling, at least in countries
Right.
that.
But you got to
like
look.
for-
It's all about
like-
the future too, right? You got to plan for the future.
But is that affecting how these things are selling right now? And is it
No,
gonna
apparently
affect
not,
5 years?
because
It
who
isn't,
has the
but-
money is
Yeah, that's the
us
problem.
old folk.
Yeah.
But if you're going to continue to sell Mac Apple products to the under 20 set, you got to stay cool.
See, Apple has done very well by not worrying about losing people this year. They're
Right.
not going to
No, it's
make
long-term.
if they find out that there are a lot of people who really like tactile keyboards, they're not going to make an alternative iPhone with a tactile keyboard.
No, I agree. No,
It's
they
gonna be-
never chase the audience. I agree.
They are a car that never leaves first or second gear because they accelerate very, very slowly and steadily.
Right. Yet, look at this. I mean, this is a very different Apple. This whole Beats acquisition, the Beats Music, the headphones. This isn't. You can't deny it, Andy. They're trying to appeal to a younger crowd.
No, absolutely. It's music is a special thing that I think it's separate from the rest of their iPhone business. I mean, the kids today, they're not really into multitasking, and they're not, So this is if you're gonna. This is also the company that put Tony Bennett up there for a keynote,
Right.
that put Randy Newman up there for a keynote. I think they have a wide enough perspective, but that is something that concerns me about the music service, where again they got to program a music service for everybody. And it's not like I keep coming back to things like opera and Broadway, not because that's essential for a successful music service, but if you prove to me you understand what opera is, if you prove to me you understand what a show tune is, then you've proven to me that you've actually made an ambitious and far-reaching service. You're not just here to get people for the next 4 years of their music listening lives, and then when they're 29, 30, they age out of the system and you don't care about them anymore.
I think that Apple does a great job with, curtailing whatever product they have to the greatest use group that's going to make them the most money. And if you take a look at the people that consume the most music, it is the younger of the generations, in comparison to MacBook Pro, which would be for people that are older and have the money to be able to spend on that. So a lot of kids be able to have iPods, and they'll be able to prescribe to a music service. And so, they're going to be heading towards a younger audience, which then increases their ecosystem of the new generation. Then when they can afford it, to be able to afford more expensive Apple products because they already understand and enjoy the use case for that.
I would bet it's very analogous to what happens with music. You know, your musical tastes freeze when you're 24 to 30, and they don't change much after that. That's all the research says that. And I would bet that's true of computing platforms. That whatever you used in your Ute is what you're going to keep using with, you know, I mean, of course people change, but there's a lot of momentum behind whatever you chose as a kid. So now's the time. I mean, you got to get these guys.
And I think Connect is very central to that, because what they want is for the artists to provide an inside look for the super fans, and for the super fans to live obsessively on those profiles.
Weekend is apparently just one.
Yeah, the weekend is over.
Everybody have a great week. It's great to be
At least they didn't have to
together.
set up a drum kit. All right, that concludes the 2015 WWDC keynote. As Tim Cook said at the beginning, 30 more of the panels, the sessions will be streamed. So Apple is really putting a lot of this content online at apple.com if you want to know more. I imagine you have to be a developer in the developer program to get the rest of these sessions. So just to recap, Apple started by talking about iOS 9, which will be out in the fall. All the developers get bits today, and OS 10, 10.11, which they've called El Capitan.
Which is Spanish for the Capitan.
The Captain. It makes me chuckle a little bit every time I hear it, though.
El
It's
Capitan.
almost like it was like a joke.
My name
Yeah.
is
Went with it.
El Capitan. You killed my father. But to their credit, one of the things, while they've added some new features, including improved Spotlight. Spotlight will now search everything, and with some natural language as well. They've added additional smarts to Siri across the board. It does sound like they're focusing, though, on performance and reliability updates mostly, and I think that's a good thing.
They're stealing, borrowing, and innovating in order to get you off of Android and make you forget about the rest of the world, which is, you know, Apple's view of the world. But this is a particularly effective one, and I think the Siri stuff is major. It's one of the things that we're seeing here that's going to change everyday behavior much more even than the music or any of the rest.
Right.
And I think that that's what they have to do. They have to take a look at what everyone else is doing and make sure that they are leading the pack, or at least with the pack. Because if not, people will start jumping ship to services that are going to provide them with a more effortless existence.
It's more competitive now than it's ever been.
And humans want to do less for more. So that's what they need to do.
It's easy to pick up other phones and demonstrate, here's why I use this device instead of an iPhone. So we need to have more features that come in to say, well, here's why I use an iPhone. And you can't say, well, you look at the chamfer angle on that bezel.
No one knows. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it is
I mean,
pretty, but no one cares.
Yeah. And the dangerous thing and the risky thing is that the proactive assistance features that they're putting into iOS 9, those aren't easy to show off. Either they work or they don't. Either you find yourself that it's accurately picking up these appointments and putting them in the right place. They are accurately figuring out that when I say set up an appointment with Jason, of the 5 Jasons that I have in my address book, there's one Jason I'm probably going to be having a meeting with. So it really is all about that first day, that first 20 minutes even sometimes. If you give somebody something that is delightful and successful in the first 20 minutes, you got them through the learning curve. But it's so easy to never use Siri again if you don't want to use it. It's so easy to not use that news app if you decide that it leaves you cold. Same for the Apple Music. So easy to use anything else but that. So they got to nail that first 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because that's what happens is that if people no longer trust their technology, if it's not doing what people expect it to do, you end up with something that we call in psychology expectational debt. So because other services are able to do this and relatively well, if Apple, and I love that Apple waits a little bit before they put out a product that is not going to make people really happy. People get really angry. We expect things to work effortlessly, and then if it does not, we will just jump ship from that. And not only that, we'll be angry at Apple, which is not good for them.
Apple also, with in an eye towards the fact that they're talking to developers at this conference, announced that Metal would be coming to Mac. That is the core graphics technology that operates on iOS right now, and it's kind of very much like DirectX on Windows. It gives apps much closer to the Metal access to the graphics processor, and so for games that would make a significant difference. They also announced, let's see, I'm just going through the list of things, that the Watch SDK would be out, and apps would come to the watch, and most importantly, a new version of the watch OS would ship this fall.
Yeah.
Which they said, kind of ironically, will work on every Apple Watch shipped.
Yes, all of them.
As if it wouldn't.
Even the $400 scumbag version.
Exactly.
That
Even the
you
cheap
cheapskates
one.
been buying.
But a lot of nice new features, I think, in the Apple Watch.
I liked
think
it.
Much needed. So, yeah, it should be interesting to see. They updated Notes and spent some time showing that Notes would do so much more on iOS. Inexplicably.
Well, no, I mean, I think that's going to be a key thing. Remember that for a lot of these proactive technologies to work, it has to have exposure to the data that you're actually using. And what better way to do it than just have you not use Evernote, not use OneNote, not use Vesper, and just use something they've got deep hooks in. So
Transit will come to Maps finally. That's something people really want. It'll be in 300 cities across China, as well as most major metropolitan areas. You'll also be able to use Maps to find restaurants and bars and shops and so off. They also announced a new platform for news, which kind of interesting, a Flipboard-like application. It looks like not only is news curated, but it pays attention to what you read and then tries to give you better articles, but it does focus on some premier partners. They did say that if you are a blogger or you have your own site, you can make sure that it works with news. Interesting, again, play for Apple to go after yet another area where they can kind of lock you into their ecosystem, reading news. But the biggest thing, I think, from people who are iOS fans is this new split screen on the iPad and for iOS for the iPad.
Yeah.
They announced something called Slide Over, which lets you open a second app by sliding in from the side of the screen, keeping the first app running at the same time. You can even, weirdly, scroll separately in each app. They also announced Picture-in-Picture, which I think is a very interesting thing. And good for us, because you could watch TWiT, for instance, scale it down. I guess you'd have to open it in Safari.
That felt to me very, very un-Apple-like. To have this free-floating, resize it, put it anywhere you want.
It's gonna cover up some
Too much
content.
choice for Apple.
But it's I bet that they've been trying to solve that problem for years, then finally said we cannot figure out how to do that in a way that doesn't obscure things. We just got to do it because it is an obviously useful thing. If we're going to continue to make devices that are larger than phones, it is going to be an obviously useful thing for people to want to watch movies or watch video while they're doing something else. So let's just do it. Hold our nose and do it. We'll ship a plastic phone. We'll do Picture-in-Picture too.
Despite the fact that the iPhone 6 already has really spectacular battery life compared to the Android devices, they're going to add a low-power mode that will give you additional life if you see yourself running out, something that Samsung and other devices have had for some time. Two-factor authentication in your Apple ID, that's good news.
That's good.
Very important. Health Kit been expanded. They didn't spend a lot of time on HomeKit or Health Kit. Or even CarPlay. They briefly mentioned that CarPlay would work untethered via Bluetooth only. That's a big improvement. But it feels as if there was going to be a big section on HomeKit. They announced earlier this week, they announced a bunch of new HomeKit devices. No mention of that at all. And I wonder if that would have been where the Apple TV announcement would have been, and maybe they just decided not to put that out. There was no new Apple TV announcement.
Right. That'd be my
Not even a
guess.
nod to it.
Yeah.
What a sad state of affairs for Apple TV.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yes, and thank you. Even though they didn't talk about it, you can now have lowercase keys on your keyboard as well as uppercase, and you can use the keyboard as a trackpad, which I think is kind of nice.
Yeah,
that's an interesting innovation
for nice, precise cursor movement, which is a good thing. Also, let's not forget that they also added a lot of mechanical keyboard support. So things that you could do on any Android device or on any Windows device, just something as simple as switching apps from the keyboard.
Control Tab will work.
Such a simple thing. Yeah. And this is all really, I think one of the bigger news than Apple Music is they now have given the iPad a brand new lease on life just by simply saying multiple apps on the screen at the same time, and we're going to let you do really cool things with the keyboard now. That means that now maybe I will consider buying one of these $500 tablets and not one of those $500 Windows 10 devices.
Right.
Apple open sourced Swift, announced Swift 2 and open sourced it. That's good news. Swift is a very interesting programming language, but as it stands as an Apple-only language, it's not going to get wide developer adoption, but open sourcing it might increase the adoption on other platforms. They mentioned that Apple has paid out more than $30 billion to developers That means they made $10 billion, right? Because they get a third of everything. And that they have sold or downloaded 100 billion. What was it? How many apps was it? 100 billion apps? Some ridiculous number.
100 billion. Downloaded, not sold.
Downloaded.
Yeah.
Very important. 195,000 educational apps in the App Store. They did a nice little video about apps. The average person has 119 apps. Thank you very much. Let's see. Talked about the watch updates, including, I think, maybe the single best one, which is that you can go back in time with the watch by turning the crown on your watch face or forward in time and figure out what your appointments will be later in the day. They also announced a nightstand mode for the Apple Watch. But don't get all excited. You won't get the new Apple Watch 2.0. Watch OS is what they call it, 2.0, until later this fall.
You mean if I use my thing to go forward in time, I won't get the...
Now you won't go forward.
Not yet. And try.
That feels like a big deal. But in the fall, that's when for lack of a better term, the real first release of WatchOS is going to be released, and they'll have plenty of them in stores and just in time for holidays. So that's it. Seems like there was a soft launch in April, and now we're going to have the real launch when WatchOS 2.0 comes out.
And of course, Eddie Q took to the stage to actually Tim Cook said one more thing. Jimmy Iovine was introduced. Jimmy Iovine, of course, the very famous record producer who was one of the founders of Beats Music along with Dr. Dre. And Jimmy took the stage to talk a little bit about the new music experience that Apple's proposing with Apple Music. That's the official name. Apple logo, all uppercase, Music.
Yaz Graham on Twitter tweeted, Eddie Q, stripped to the waist and smeared with blood, throws iTunes' bloody corpse into the crowd.
Hey, I hope so. They did say iTunes will be updated. I don't know how much it'll be updated, but it really deserves a rewrite. They didn't mention iTunes Radio, but clearly Apple Music replaces iTunes Radio. And interestingly enough, the first thing they featured is that Apple Music will have a 24-hour radio station on it that will be DJ'd in 3 different cities by 3 well-known apparently, I'm told, well-known DJs like Zane Lowe, who they hired from BBC One. He'll run Beats One. I think it looks out of L.A. And those will be very much like traditional radio stations, even down to the big loud sounders and the interviews and so forth. Not pure music.
Yeah. And Vlad Savov makes a really interesting point about a milestone. Apple now makes Android apps.
This will be the first. Of course, there's always been a Beats Music app.
Yes.
They are apparently going to completely rewrite it because they say the Android version and the Windows version won't be available till the fall.
Right.
So that's interesting. There you go. There's the store. And there you go. Three-month trial membership to Beats starting June 30th. So don't try to download it today. Beats will be $10 a month. They do have an affordable family plan, though. I think $15.99 for as many as 6 people in your family. They didn't mention the number of songs. It's probably the same set of 30 million songs that all the others.
Where they're going to get new songs from.
Right.
They also said on that site that Beats One stations are going to be free, whether you remember or not.
Yeah, that's interesting. So there will be some content, like Apple Radio, content that's free.
Yeah, just to start people off, hopefully get them hooked onto it. Right. I think that it's going to be still a hard sell. It's only 3 radio stations.
Well, it's not 3 at the same time. I got the feeling each is 8 hours of the 24-hour, right? So you just keep listening.
I thought you got to choose.
Well, I'm not clear. It's not clear.
I thought that you would have the choice depending on what kind of music each DJ would play, because if not, I don't know if it's going to be the kind of music that I would like. So then why would I want to be signed up for it?
I think for the radio station, once you're 28 years old, you get sent to Carousel.
Yes.
Apple Music, I'm just reading the slide on Apple's site. Apple's Music features Beat One Music. Interviews, guest hosts, news, and culture. The world's best radio will feature the world's best voices like Zane Lowe. It looks like it's one station, 3 DJs, 24/7.
Wow.
That's a long-ass shift.
I don't know.
They get a day off?
Apparently,
I guess not.
There'll be reruns.
This is Apple.
There'll be reruns.
Yeah, we're going to work.
And there you go. That's it. Beats One is a global listening experience from Los Angeles, New York, and London.
That is weird.
But they all have British accents. That is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case. And then Eddie Q came out, shook his maracas, and danced.
Yes.
Somebody got me maracas. I can't not shake them. Thank you very much.
Shake them if you got them.
We're going to wrap this up because iOS Today is coming up in just a second. If you tune in for Triangulation, that will be right after. In fact, I'm excited. Ashley Vance will join us. He just wrote a book about Elon Musk.
Ashley Vance.
Inside Elon Musk.
That's right.
A little
Inside
later
the
on.
mind
today.
thereof.
Let's go around the horn and find out what your salient thoughts are about what we just saw. 2.5-hour keynote, WWDC 2015. Mike Elgan.
It was interesting to see them do kind of what Google did at Google I/O, which is shore up their platforms and make everything more solid, more appealing, more usable. I really like the new Siri stuff. Siri is more than just a voice-based assistant. Now just an assistant you can use in multiple ways. It has some of the best features of Google Now, some of the best features of Cortana, probably. So that was really interesting. The fact that Swift has been made open source is really, really fascinating to me. I really like the Apple Watch updates. This reminds me, as we said during the broadcast, that it's like the iPhone. I didn't get the iPhone initially in 2007 when they launched it because I thought, well, it doesn't. I don't know what I'm, why I need all this kind of stuff. When they came out with the App Store, the apps really started hitting in earnest. I think a similar phenomenon will happen once apps are able to run and get access to, all the different features of the watch. It will emerge why the Apple Watch specifically and smartwatches in general are really powerful and here to stay. So that was really interesting. And the music stuff was very disappointing. I was expecting something revolutionary. I was expecting something surprising. But it seems like another service that's priced kind of like the other services that also has this vaguely defined connect feature, which in my imagination, I think it could be great, but what they told us was not enough information to really know whether this is good or not. So those are the big takeaways, I think. In general, I thought it was a really good announcement for the developers especially, and also for the super fans. We'll see if it's going to thrill the average person who may be on the fence between, say, Android or iOS and the rest. So, but I think it was a good keynote.
Georgia Dow.
Well, I love the fact that they had women on stage. Woohoo! Wait.
Yep. Never did get Angela on there, but they found a few others.
We did not get Angela. I'm going to save this. This is for you, Angela, next time that you're on stage. But I love that. I love the fact that we're going to have native applications on my Apple Watch. So I'm really excited what we're going to be able to come out and see. I'm going to be resurrecting my iPads from the iPad Hall of Shame that they're all pretty much dead right now because I haven't had to use it. So the split screen, amazing. And I think that it's good for Maps and for Siri, having an assistant that Siri is going to become. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit more beefed up than it is right now. We'll have to see when it actually comes out if I'm going to be able to use Siri and it's going to accurately understand what am I saying, who do I want to call, and the information that I need to have on it. But I'm really excited because I don't use Siri very much right now. As for music, I'm not a huge audiophile, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use the music services. I'll try it out for the first 3 months, but I will probably be one of the people that will not sign up afterwards. So I'm a little bit, like they spent a large amount of the time on the keynote there, whereas I would have been interested to find out a little bit more about HomeKit and CarPlay and other things that they're going to be coming out with. So I was a little bit disappointed with that.
Mr. Andy Ihnatko, your thoughts?
Well, I already talked about how this is the iPad's new lease on life. I'm really excited to see that because I wouldn't say that during Microsoft's keynote a couple months ago I was tempted in any way to make a Windows machine one of my primary computers. However, it was a familiar sort of sensation like before I switched to Android, saying, well, I'm obviously not going to buy a Windows laptop, but gosh, it would be nice to have a $500 laptop that I could really use, not as a real machine, but just for those 3 hours in the coffee shop or those 3 days on a business trip. And I think that the iPad has, they addressed so many of the points that would tempt somebody to buy a $500 Windows 10 notebook instead of getting something that is really purpose-built for lightweight, long battery life, reliability, and travel. Also, nice to see Apple put more cards on the table for Apple Watch. I think I can really strongly defend the opinion that the Apple Watch has not really been released yet. It's there for people who were so excited they had to have it first. And I think those of us who did buy it early on, we did understand that it would be a little bit like the iPhone, where we were buying into a concept that we really, really like. And this is an act of faith with Apple because we feel as though it's not going to be great when it first comes out, but 6 months down the road, we're going to be very glad that we have it. The other, apart from little bits here and there, it also occurred to me that I'm starting to think about a lot of these new proprietary apps, the new version of Notes, the new version of News, even Maps and Music, as an extension of their brand of, hey, look, we think it's really important that users have ability to control all their data and have a right to privacy. And traditionally, when Apple has decided to Sherlock another app, it's been because you might think that, well, they want to do a news app because they feel as though they want to have the people's eyeballs. They don't want to leave that to third parties. Or level 2 would be that they feel as though by getting by controlling more of the experience, they can have a more cohesive experience. Now, part of me wonders if part of those decisions are, look, if we convince people not to use the free Notes app that they're using right now, not to use the free Music app they're using it right, and the streaming app they're using right now, not to use the free Maps, and not to use the free whatever else. If to come up and use the Apple stuff, we can basically give them an alternative that is almost as good as, say, Google Maps, but they know that none of the information they give us by connecting their calendar to their mapping app will ever be used to sell them anything. So it's as always, you're always provoked when you look at Apple announcements to think about one big whiteboard that has every single thing they make and a lot of different chalk lines and string lines connecting them to each other, because they really are trying to make, I think, one consistent product, not just a whole bunch of different departments. So a lot to chew on. Really, really disappointing. Not even a nod towards Apple TV, because as I said on Twitter, the thing that disappoints me the most about Apple TV is that it is probably the one and only Apple product made since Steve Jobs came back that I actively discourage people from buying, because there's just no calculus that tells me that unless you need something for AirPlay, okay, that'll be AirPlay video, okay. Otherwise, there is no solution on the market today that is in any way inferior to Apple TV, and Apple TV is just inferior to everything else. So sorry that there wasn't at least an, hey, let's remind you that we do think that the Apple TV is still an ongoing product. We are interested in keeping it current in some way, even if we don't have our TV deals in place.
You know, of course, this is a developer conference and a developer speech, but it is one of only 3 public events that Apple holds each year. And I expected more of a coherent storyline through all of this. This really felt like a hodgepodge of bits thrown out there. Here's Notes, here's News, your watch, your iOS. Admittedly, a developer conference. Developers want to hear about the platform. They want to hear about iOS 9. They want to hear about El Capitan. But Apple needs to do a better job, I think, and Apple has always in the past done a very good job of telling a coherent story. This did not feel like the world's most valuable company on stage explaining what they're all about. It just felt like a bunch of stuff. And I think that's not good, really, for Apple. I think they need to do a better job, get a handle on what they're trying to accomplish. Otherwise, they run the risk of running back to that old Apple, the pre-return of Steve Jobs Apple, where they had so many things thrown up against the wall, and it really wasn't a very coherent company. I also think music is an interesting challenge for Apple, because they are the #1 source of music purchases in the world. They, like any incumbent that's dominant, have to face a new world where streaming is important and make the transition from what is a very big business for them and what is a very important business for them into a brand new business that they are late to the table with. I don't think they showed anything compelling with Beats Music. They bought a company. They took the existing app from the company and, frankly, didn't improve it, took much out of it, made it much more vanilla than the original Beats Music was. They also are, in effect, taking it off Android and Windows, where it was available, until this fall. The only thing I see that may be a game changer for Apple and music is 100 countries. One of the things that's traditionally been very difficult to do is to make those deals country by country. And you see this with Google Music not rolling out to very many countries. Spotify, which is the granddaddy, has slowly rolled out, but they're still not, I don't know if they're in 100 countries. For Apple to launch in 100 countries is significant. And that shows Apple's clout in the music industry, Jimmy Iovine's Rolodex, the things that they probably did buy Beats for. But will that be enough? I don't know. I really don't see Beats Music as a very compelling offering. And you've got to remember, this is replacing Apple's music store, ultimately. This is not just something else we're going to do. They're taking one of their most important businesses and bringing it into the future. This has to be good.
Yeah. Well, also, remember, I think they're iPodding the iTunes, the music store.
Right.
Because there was a time where they were still making a lot of money on iPods, but the writing was definitely on the wall. And actual sales of music is just down. They knew they had to start that transition one way or another. So it makes perfect sense. And there's apparently some things that they haven't even mentioned yet. I'm on the iOS 9 preview page on Apple, and apparently now that is not going to be maybe not the only Android app that they sell, because they have a new feature called, I'm scrolling down now. There you go. Android migration. It will download the Move to iOS app to wirelessly switch from your Android device to the new iOS device, securely transfers your contacts, messages, camera photos, and videos, bookmarks, mail accounts, calendars, DRM-free songs,
easy
and books.
to get away.
And it will even, like, if it will look through your app library on the Android device, and any free apps you've downloaded, there's an iOS equivalent for it. It will also automatically download on the iOS device.
So that's a way to migrate out of Android, in other words.
At least, yeah, and it's an interesting it's a way to make the switch easier for people, but also an acknowledgement that there are non-idiots who are buying Android phones who are very happy, who if it's close enough that gosh, I'd like to move to iOS, but gosh, it will be too much trouble. If it was an app that was the only thing, it was not the hardware, it's not the services, that will give you now that app. That's interesting.
And I'm not sure if they mentioned during the keynote, but it's here in the press release that the Watch OS 2 features activation lock. Did they mention that?
Watch OS 2.
Activation lock, which is on it'll brick the watch if it's stolen.
Oh, this was a problem, right? With the
original. People were complaining about it and saying
watch.
that there were a series of articles about how it wasn't vulnerable.
It doesn't have that.
It doesn't have that, and now the next version will have it. I don't think they mentioned that during the keynote.
They did not.
If they did, I missed it.
I expect we'll see a lot of stuff on Apple Watch that they didn't mention.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Depends what will happen in the fall. Thank you very much for joining us, Georgia Dow from imore.com. I'm glad you were able to break out your party, whatever you call that, tweeter.
I know. I'm excited that I actually got to use it.
There were women.
There were women.
Real women.
Not the woman that I was really hoping to see.
I would love to see Angela Arendt on stage.
Oh, I know. She's fabulous.
I want to hear more about her.
Yeah. Maybe
more
next
from
time.
her. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Georgia. You hear more about from Georgia at imore.com, and, of course, on our other shows, because we love having her on. We appreciate it. Same for Andy Ihnatko. He's on Mac Break Weekly each and every Tuesday. And, of course, you'll find him at the Chicago Sun-Times. That's where he hangs his Colorado University Buffaloes hat. Thank you, Andy. Mike Elgan is here every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m.
In this very chair.
Tech News Today, right there.
Right here. I'm not moving.
He actually didn't have to move to do this show. I did, though. I rolled up my sleeves and I got maracas. And we want to thank all of you for being here. Also a thanks to BraintreePayments.com. Braintree Payments sponsors our breaking news and event coverage on TWiT, and we really are grateful for that. And if you are a mobile app developer, I just want to encourage you to take a look at their Braintree V.0 SDK. Not only gives you Apple Pay, but a whole lot more, including PayPal, Bitcoin, Venmo, cards, whatever's next, all with one simple integration. Just a few lines of code, a few minutes. If you're not sure still, you can go to the sandbox and see what it looks like. And by the way, a little sweetener, your first $50,000 in transactions, fee-free. BraintreePayments.com/TWiT. Thanks to everybody for joining us. That concludes our TWiT Live special coverage of WWDC 2015. I'm Leo Laporte. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.